Start all, and then my software is going to link up with this. There we go. And then in order to violate the Twitch terms of service, I then go to my other account, my other Chrome account, and I open up YouTube, oh bother VOD. We got to switch all this stuff over to Chrome. That's going to be kind of painful. We go over here, keep it muted, and then we pop out this chat. See, the thing is, in order to use the Twitch API, they have a number of uses that you can do per day. It's a per day thing, and you can only access the API a certain number of times per day to get chat messages. So it's not a matter of the volume of chat in my chat. It's a matter of how quickly do I want this to respond to a chat message coming in. So if I have a YouTube thing running in Node-RED and I have that pinging my YouTube API, I can only make so many pings per day. And so, you know, I mean, I can do make it only do it while I'm streaming maybe, and that might reduce the number. But other than that, I don't know what exactly I can do to get YouTube chat onto something, because I would like multiple devices to have YouTube chat on it. I eventually, you know, with the Raspberry Pi stuff, I want a Raspberry Pi that's running a desktop, and then I can have YouTube and Twitch chat up on that desktop. And then I can put that to the monochrome green screen that I have, the IBM screen, and it would look really kind of retro and cool. And I can put it over where Julian and Dave are, and they would have a chat in front of them. As of right now, I've got an old busted laptop that I guess I could use, so I guess I'll have to do that. The old busted laptop for Julian and Dave. And one of these days, we're gonna have like a Bother's gonna not be able to stream because he's taken apart the entire rack and started to redo it from scratch. That may happen. The only thing that'll stay the same is probably the stream PC will stay in place, but I'll dust it. There's got to be so much dust in that computer right now. But what I need to do is move stuff so that I can put the glass front back on the rack, because it's supposed to be protected computer equipment. It's not supposed to be exposed to the elements. It'll be visible, and unfortunately that glass makes it look really cheap. But anyway, what's up? We got Lines and Squares, we got Flatulent Gunna, we got Groovy Something. All three of my historical viewers are here. Nobody's around yet. We'll start in just a minute here. This is the one that we're probably going to end up, well, I don't know. We might set this one up, but we're going to overwrite this one. This one has Fermentrack on it. I need to set up in my file server Fermentrack, but I haven't plugged that refrigerator in a long time. I have a drinks refrigerator on the other side of the shop. I haven't used it in a while. It was great during the pandemic, but nowadays it's just as easy for me to go upstairs and like say hi to the dog and everything. Is this lens kind of greasy? What are we looking at? How's the lens looking? No, it looks okay. Maybe it needs to be primed. Oh no, I need this light over. That's why. We gotta, hold on, I gotta kick some stuff. Well, yeah, that's why we do the people wonder, Father, if the stream is running, why does it say start soon? What are you doing? Why do you do this to us? And it's like, I don't do it to you. I do this for a very good reason. And the reason is there's nobody here right now. Why am I being called? Oh, they want me to order medical supplies. Nope. Sorry, screening that call. People don't understand why I do such a long, like an hour long before I actually start working on the thing that we're working on. And the reason behind that is because people have to trickle in. You know, we get something like 70 users a stream sometimes. With raids, we exceed that every now and then, which is nice. You need to be at about 100 to partner. And usually when you're trying to partner, there's a good incentive to get people to kind of like watch your stream. You can be like, I really need you guys to watch my stream so I can partner. Okay, well, we've partnered, and so it had a little bit of a tapering off effect on numbers. But the thing is, like, we don't instantly get that 75. Some streams start with 75 viewers. Man, I wish. Some of these guys that have like made it big out here just by being a comedy act, I wish. If I make some more punchy YouTube videos someday, I'll have to figure that one out. But anyway, yeah, so we don't instantly have 1 billion viewers, and so if I jump directly into what I'm working on, nobody will know what the hell's going on, and nobody can follow along, and nobody's got an ounce of the thread of what I'm doing. So I give it a little bit of intro, I let people kind of trickle in, and then And then we get an intro for some of the people, and generally it's a little bit more amenable to viewership. We tend to get more viewers. More informed viewers, more or less people asking what's going on. Although there will always be people asking what's going on. And people who enter the stream and instantly try to stump me for some reason. I don't know why they do that. Okay. Now I can put my feet there. Cleanliness. Do a Sims 3 series. Convince Rabaz to pass off a save file back and forth. I don't think he'll ever do something like that again. You literally have to hold a gun to his head to do anything social. Happy you don't put 15-minute waiting screen where we see nothing. We can actually see you prepare. I like how the sausage is made, right? I like how the sausage is made. I like the sausage. I like how it's made. Yeah, I like that too. Who did that originally? Might have been Red Letter Media. I don't remember. I don't remember where I got it from. Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi. Look at the Raspberry Pi. It's a Raspberry Pi. It's UART for the Raspberry Pi. It's very small. HDMI Raspberry Pi output. There's two of them. Two Raspberry Pi HDMI. There's a USB-C for the Raspberry Pi. Here's an antenna. It's one of the antenna for the Raspberry. It's very small. See how small it is? Index C, subbing for 52 months, here to lurk. Index C, thank you so much. It's an old name. It's an old name around here, and I recognize it. How's it a Dragon Ball Z intro? It's how is the intro these days? I know Dragon Ball Z is gonna like never die. Turkscom Tirjgog 926 Henel 4R. Power over Ethernet. Pet the Raspberry Pi. Pet the Raspberry Pi. Why do you have doll hands? Because they're funny? Because you're fucking funny? Hey. You know, man? Hey, man, you're fucking funny, you know that? You're fucking funny. No, that won't hold on to it. Wait, can I hold on to it like that? No. Darn it. I was going to put the RC car suspension in one of the doll hands to hold on to, but it doesn't really hold on to it very well. Because it's a doll hand. And it wasn't meant for that sort of task. Touching chips inappropriate. It's not, you know, it's perfectly appropriate and family friendly. This is going to be a lot of setup today. Because I don't know what I'm doing. We're going to write over the Fermentrax server. So all this information is wrong. And set up the Raspberry Pi on the network so that I can throw Python at it and do physically computey kind of stuff. This is more of a locked away Raspberry Pi. This does not have any access to the I/O. This one does. And then actually, wait, let me see. I got another one somewhere. Hey, Madamu. Oh, and I'm going to need my card reader too. The card reader. Where is that other Pi? I think it's in here, isn't it? Oh, unless I reorganized. Yeah, I think I reorganized, so it's going to be in a different bin. A different bin. This one over here. There it is. Perfect. Right in front of me. Oh, I got this one too. Let's take all the pies over. I think this power supply might be useful too for LED stuff. There we go. Now we're cooking. Power supply. Raspberry Pi. Other Raspberry Pi. I have a bunch of Raspberry Pis. I don't have nothing to do with them. What do I do with these? I'm gonna set one up as a little physical computing base so that we can get LED stuff running on it in Python, and then build up, burn the subs into it so we know what our pinouts are gonna be, what I need to hook up to where. So that's cool, I guess. Whatever. Maybe we'll use the one that's covered in badass looking heat sinks. I was browsing through Amazon, looking around at stuff, and I was like, whoa, this one's cool looking. And that's literally the entire decision process behind why I have this specific case here, this cool looking one. Now, somewhere around here, I have breakouts, like a breakout that goes onto a breadboard. It might actually be with the breadboard. I might actually still have it hooked up to the breadboard, and I just don't know where that breadboard is. It was an old one. Or it's possible that it's in the bin that I just looked through to get all the Raspberry Pis out. I'll have to look in a minute. It would be nice though if we had it directly, just flat cable going to the prototyping board, because then I can easily just hook up pins and switch pins and do whatever I need to do. Because there's a lot of weird stuff on this pinout. And I would have said, we're going to get LEDs running on the Raspberry Pi. No, I'm not going to go that far because I don't know. I don't know what I'm capable of today. So I kept it simple. KSS. These use some kind of a bus protocol. I know we can get into that, and I think we've gotten it working before. But it would be nice to get some pixels crunching on this thing and get a better idea of how we can harness the power of it. One of the things that I would love to be able to do is set up a different Raspberry Pi, one that's not doing burn the subs, and hook up a bunch of LED stuff to it and have it run milk drop. So I could have LED strips that would be doing a milk drop display, because it looks really cool. And maybe we can give it its own little microphone at some point. So it'll just display milk drop plugins, milk drop like plugins using Project M, and that would give us a cool LED display. And then of course, it would have to have some MQTT in it so that I could ping it through Node-RED and have stuff happen. One day it will happen. It's not look, it is a one day it'll happen, but we're working on it. We are working on it. This is a big step. But today we just want to set up a platform that we can throw code into and test. It's a lot. It's a lot. Let's see, Project M. Just a mod or a game? No, that's not what, no. GitHub. Cross-platform music visualization. There we go, that's what we're looking for. And Project M, they're like, we're not doing anything with it. It's dead. It's dead. Everything is dead. But yeah, this style of visualization on whatever. So I'm hoping we can Raspberry Pi this thing. MQTT. So MQTT is a messaging system, I guess. And you have like a broker. So I set up my file server to broker MQTT messages, whereas there are a lot of tutorials on how to set up a Raspberry Pi as the MQTT broker. If you have a bunch of Internet of Things hanging out, and you have, they're all MQTT capable, and you have an MQTT broker, you can give them a friendly name, and then you can send messages to or get back messages from these devices. So while I can do WebSockets in order to do that, you can also use MQTT, and it's a little bit more friendly, I guess. How do I even, what is MQTT? Do not trust AI. It is a bubble. Yeah, so it'll publish something to MQTT. The broker will look at who's subscribed to a topic and they'll publish the message to the things that are looking at that topic. And so various devices can get or give information to that topic. So yeah, it's just a message delivery protocol. So, I mean, like, you know, you can do it with WebSockets. You can send something with a WebSocket, but then if you have an additional device that wants to look for something on that WebSocket, it might be a little bit more complicated or something. I don't know. This is mqtt.org, so it seems like it's an OASIS standard messaging protocol for the Internet of Things. It's designed as an extremely lightweight publish-subscribe messaging transport that's ideal for connecting remote devices with a small code footprint and minimal network bandwidth. MQTT today is used in a wide variety of industries, such as by D. Andy Stanford Clark of IBM in 1999. It doesn't seem like there's any company affiliation, although they do have an org, so I don't know. And, you know, it's all free, so, and people know the protocol and all that stuff. I got news for you about 1999. My car, my wife, my car is a 1999 make, and it's an antique car, which means it's over 25 years old. What was this power supply? Why was this with the Raspberry Pi? Oh my God! Brink GG! Brink GG! Sorry, the ideal light was out of frame. You guys didn't see it light up. This thing is using MQTT. 28 months for Brink GG. Do we get to burn me yet? No, you always ask me that. No. We're building up the foundation of stuff. I've been over this with you every single time you sub. Every time you sub, you always rattle my cage by asking about burn the subs. I am working on it, and this is one of the foundational projects of the new Burn the Subs. This is running LED visualizations, which is something that I wanted to constantly do as just a visual cue that something cool is sitting over there. But as I continue on these projects, we are building up towards Burn the Subs. This Raspberry Pi and the code that it's going to run is going to be kind of the foundation. We're going to get MQTT in there, and then we're going to look at getting the rest of Burn the Subs running. And so we're going to start working with a little bit of physical computing in the Raspberry Pi and start to get to know our pinouts. We have a long road to burn the subs, and it's always been that way. And that was the plan, because I had 2 successful boards, and it was time to kind of take a step back and sort of get everything right, instead of just rushing through it and getting something that just barely functions. Oh, hey, no obligation. I try to keep it accessible for people watching. It's not like we have a buildup of stuff. You don't need to know all the plot threads in order to hop in on a stream and see what's happening, you know? I hope not, anyway. But the projects we do here are pretty complicated. It kind of gets that way. That is old water. That's an old water. Tastes a little dusty. Anything floating in it? Not after that sip. Bah. Woo. Tastes a little bit like the plastic container. Yeah, so yesterday I did a little bit of research about the MIDI thing. Today I did a bunch of research about the MIDI thing. I did a little bit of soldering on this thing, got some of the stuff together, but most of yesterday what I did was source parts. It turns out in order to make the CV outputs from this thing, they use 2 analog to digital converters, right? And the analog to digital converters are a specific product They speak a specific language. It's still SPI, right? SDA, SCL, and clock. That's fine, but the SDA and SDL and clock are speaking their own special language. So in order to get this microcontroller running with this hardware, I need to use the exact right hardware. If I got some other ADC or whatever, no, DAC, if I got some other DAC, which I have tons and tons of them. If I used another one of those DACs and I hooked it up to SDA and SCL, this thing wouldn't be communicating properly to them in order to make the output that it wants. That's unfortunate because the DAC that they used is wildly obsolete and ancient. It is a through-hole product, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I found it on Amazon for $32 for one chip. Bah! So what I ended up doing was going to DigiKey and doing a deep dive into DigiKey. Turns out DigiKey had stock of both of the ADCs, and they were like $3 and $4. So that was pretty good. This thing also requires this accursed dual row Alpine potentiometer. It's, sorry, a 2-gang potentiometer to adjust 2 separate op-amp circuits at the same time in order to do glide. Is glide incredibly necessary for the MIDI output? No. I'm considering if I can shove 2 of these. Yeah, they're just a broker, I know. 2 of these side by side so that I have glide on the 2 different channels. Because I'm not going to sit here and go, you know, that's not the point of this. The point of this is to give me good control voltage outputs from a keyboard so I can noodle around. So I don't know. I had to source this switch. That was a weird thing. They gave part numbers in the how-to, but this thing is from 2017, and the entire like ecosystem of parts that's available has completely changed. So parts sourcing was a big deal from yesterday. Tuning this thing is probably going to be really, really annoying. I was considering replacing the 2 potentiometers with 2 of the Scientific 25 turn pots, and then those glide inputs maybe I could use to tune where the CVs were. That may not be a thing that can happen. I may need to just figure out which R's and C's are responsible for tuning the op amp, the final output op amp, and then adjust those until I get the appropriate voltage levels for the CVs. That may have to be the way that I do it. It's weird they don't have a ton of tuning options on this. I wonder if the button can be used to tune. I'll have to read the manual on it when I finally get all the parts in and I'm able to actually build this. But I went ahead and soldered in a couple parts. I was going to do all the ICs, but we didn't get there. So when we work on this thing again, maybe even tomorrow, I'm not sure. When we work on this thing again, we will put in the main IC and do some of the other stuff for the front panel. But I was trying to get ahead. That was all Wednesday. I tried to be a good little boy and get everything done. You may want to workshop that one a little bit. IUCP. What are you trying to get me to say? Yeah, anyway. So, I put together the circuit a little bit. I'm pretty sure I have all the parts. I need to find out where my MIDI connectors are, because I have exactly the MIDI connector that I need. I have a couple of them. I remember ordering them. I don't know what bin they ended up in. I'm using one. It's in the module tester module. But I want to get this, so the push for this Erica Synths MIDI thing is so that I can use the little keyboard that I have in order to give an input into the synthesizer, and then I've got sort of more of an awareness of what's going on in the whole system. It'll help me contextualize and be aware of what's going on for my signals, whereas in the past, when I would give it to sort of automated stuff like sequencers and things that'll create the CVs on their own, it felt a little bit too disconnected for me, and I kind of lost interest in what I was doing. We still need to test functions of a bunch of the different synthesizer modules, get to know them, get into them, make sure that they fully work. Because for Marbleps, Marbles was an extensive build on a very advanced, very small bit of technology, an STM32 microprocessor, microcontroller. Is a very powerful thing, and some of the pins weren't soldered properly, and then some of the pins of the op amps weren't soldered properly. There was just all kinds of like little weird errors throughout the circuit that had me going down to just the oscilloscope level and just looking at the waveforms where they were being manipulated and looking at like voltage levels to make sure that things were at the right spot. That was a lot. And I didn't do that with many of the subsequent modules that we've put together in the past. There are a lot of them. I don't know if we need to be going through the same level of scrutiny with all of them. So we got to get there. I need to be able to generate the signals to test all these things. And we've got the module testing module. And now once this keyboard thing is done, I'll have the keyboard. And then maybe we can start to put together something that sounds cool. That's the whole goal anyway. Today we're putting something together that looks cool. Then we'll put something together that sounds cool in the near future. My DigiKey order got delayed, so I don't know what's going on with that. Hopefully they don't need to import anything. DigiKey has a very large stock of components, and so I am hopefully taking advantage of stuff that they have in stock. Otherwise, it's tariffs out the wazoo. Yeah, chat's going to be a big help today. I think they understand this programming stuff a little bit easier than I do. The whole jump from code to pin goes high or low. I have mastered in the past, but I don't remember a lot. Just leave it at that. The customers, do I have stuff over here? Over here. Do I have the old prototyping board? What was that for? Oh, that's for the mixer. That has the Raspberry Pi thingy on it. I think I took it off of it. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's back here. All these breadboards that I have, they kind of expire after a little while. Not that long. They last quite a long time, but they do eventually, like the little clips inside of them, don't pinch as much as they could pinch. And so without them getting all pinchy, you don't get good connections. And then it's just economical to just replace the whole damn thing. You just call it off. See that? Oh, okay, we're done. We're done here. Ah, here it is. Yes, this will be quite useful. This is a breakout board, very, very minimalistic breakout board for a Raspberry Pi. And it helps you plug it into the perforated prototyping board. I guess these are the similar for an Arduino. Don't need that. This bin probably should not exist. Do you guys need to rebadge your VW Golf or Jetta? Mark IV Jetta? Was it Mark IV? Yeah, I think Mark IV. The Bora. It's called the Bora, so I got this B here. I'll leave the B out. B. The person that I bought my VW from, I think, did the rebadge to a Bora, and I was like, I am not driving around with that. Deploying Python in Docker containers has been my life this past month. I've been playing around with Docker. That's how I got Node-RED working, and how I got, what else did I? Oh no, that's how I got the MQTT broker working. That's how I got Mosquito working, is it works inside of its own little Docker. Is that how I did it, or did I do something else? I forget. Somebody else was helping me with that, and I forget everything about it. Miguel Oz just arrived. What version of RPies are you using? Whatever the fuck I have in front of me right now. It's like 3B plus, 3B plus, 3B plus 5. Docker's on TrueNAS? Yeah, that's what I've been using. Docker on TrueNAS. You helped me. Yes, you helped me with that. Yes. Did we run Mosquito in the end? I think we did. I think you figured out how to run Mosquito, and I just did what you told me to. And it got Mosquito running on the Docker. The next thing I have to get running on Docker is Fermentrack, which is a long-forgotten brewing helper. This can help keep your refrigerator at a specific temperature curve throughout the fermentation process. And it also just runs my refrigerator. It also just makes my refrigerator run at a particular temperature. And I don't want that on the Pi anymore. I want that on some kind of a Docker. So I'll have to figure that out in the future. When I'm feeling particularly glowy brained, when my brain is smooth and glowing, I will try to figure that out, because I don't think it'll be too bad. I think I just have to write like a little script and then run it. You can deprecate me all you want, but I'm not going to engage with it today. Fermentrack, BrewPi compatible. One thing I never did with Fermentrack that I should have done is the little tilty floaty things. You basically buy like 2-liter bottle blanks, which are just these like test tube looking things that have a cap on one end. And what they do is they put an accelerometer in it, and you monitor the accelerometer. It's like a battery powered microcontroller with an accelerometer. And so the Raspberry Pi pulls, or the Raspberry Pi or whatever you have running on this thing will pull that, and it'll actually tilt as your brew becomes more alcoholic. So the alcohol floats differently than the wort with sugar in it. The sugary wort is yeah, but this is like, oh man, super cool. What was that? Mahalo with 72 months. Thank you so much, Mahalo. Look at the reverse psychology in action. Yeah, I don't know about that. Simple upgrades, blah, 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 blah. There was something in here somewhere about that. See the features. Oh, it just brings me right down there. Let's see. Tilt bridge. Standalone piece of hardware. Tilt bridge is this thing. Oh wait, what's that? Bluetooth to Wi-Fi bridge for tilt hydrometers. I see. So you need to build this thing. It wouldn't be as direct as I thought it was. Oh, they're doing it. They're doing the lawn work, so there's going to be some noise outside. Hopefully, it doesn't come through the microphone. Yeah, gravity. So spindle, tilt, or just a manual sensor setup. What's that all about? Write the page. Write the page. When was the last time this thing? When was the last time any of this was updated? 4 months ago. Oh wait, no, this is that's Project M. Do. 6 years ago. So, you know, it does a really good job, though. You know, it was running my stuff. Hey, what's up, Madamu? Did I say hi, or did you actually come up on screen? It was like 1,000 years ago. Yeah, okay, there we go. 43 minutes of waffling about. So yeah, I gotta figure out how I can deploy this on a Docker. Deploy this on a Docker. Instead of the Raspberry Pi, because the Raspberry Pi can be kind of a volatile thing, and I've got a file server that's completely like stable. I just used the BrewPi remix with a tilt. BrewPi. I use BrewPi, I think, as my brew controller, like not as like a fermentation chamber controller. Didn't like the functionality of the Fermentrack. Maybe I've got the wrong project here. Brewing automation. It calls Blue Blocks. What the fuck? Brew Blocks. Build your brewery your way for only a small fee. I think I used BrewPi in the actual brewing controller. I made a Raspberry Pi handheld, but after a few weeks of non-use, my USB ports don't work at all. They won't even change things. It'll boot and everything, just the USB port won't work. Man, I don't know. That sounds like a hardware issue. Sounds rough. And your power supply's coming on, and you've got the red light on, and your memory card isn't corrupt. If you've got another Raspberry Pi, you could flip it to another piece of hardware. Yeah, BrewPi became commercial. I think it's what I was using in my big HERMS system, HERMS system, and it had its own IP and everything, and I haven't upgraded it in a little while. Is there like a branch? There's probably still a free branch or something like that. But yeah, they tried to make like a commercial modular system because everybody wants to make $1 these days. All of my free brewing tools kind of dried up. It's, you know, I'd have to reevaluate all that stuff. Fermentrack, it appears to still be a thing. It just hasn't been updated in 6 years. But getting it running on the Docker on my file server instead of on the Raspberry Pi means that it'll be a little bit less volatile. The memory cards that they use for these things, you can buy the good ones and you can buy the shitty ones, and you need to know a little bit about the SD cards to know if you're getting a good one or a crappy one. And if you use a crappy one, it can go and then die. And even the good ones can go and die just suddenly. So BrewPi Remix. Oh, I see. Okay. I think you've told me about this relatively recently because I seem to know these terms. I just haven't gone forward with any of this stuff because I haven't had a brew in many, many years. Oh, this looks nicer. Looks similar, but nicer. Yeah. But does this control a refrigerator the same way that Fermentrack does? Because if so, that's pretty neato. Beer General. Setting a Raspberry Pi, Pi Stretch, off with her head. What? Oh, headless operation. That's where we're gonna go. Wireless connectivity. Send mail from your Raspberry Pi. I don't want that. I'm homebrewer. Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing. The table that's sitting behind me, this table over here was supposed to be the brew table. I actually took a router and I cut a drain hole in it, and it really should have been a smaller drain hole because now I've got this long linear shower grating drain hole on the table, and I don't know, I didn't do a great job of it. I'm not good with the home improvement kind of stuff, and I never really hooked it up to like a cistern to drain into. But I was going to make that into sort of a comprehensive setup where I could occasionally do brews with a heated recirculating mash. Heat exchange recirculating mash system. I did a whole electric brew thing. It's sitting in the unfinished part of the basement and has been for several years. It's sanitary. It's ready to go. All of my grain is so extremely old we had to throw it out. I had a whole bunch of barley that was ready for a couple different recipes that I know how to do. The only problem with doing the brew here is that I've got a whole goddamn milling machine sitting right next to the table. So I need something to extract all the moist steam that gets up into the room when I do brew. This room is insulated, so it gets steamy very easily. And so I was working with stuff to put fans up in the window and have a strong exhaust from here so that I could get that moist air out, so that my milling machine wouldn't flash rust. But then it's such a pain in the butt to deal with all the spent grains and stuff. I was giving them to a friend of mine. He was making dog food out of them, which apparently is a pretty good additive to dog food. But you know, I just haven't done brewing in a little while. And the problem with brewing in Twitch is that when you do a brew on Twitch, you go, okay, so now we wait for 2 hours for it to boil. And it's just like that. I love it though. I think it's really fun. I love doing the water cooling on it and everything, because what I do is the water chamber, the heat exchanger chamber that has the 5,000 watt water heater coil in it, also serves for cooling. And what I do is I freeze big blocks of ice and I just throw them in there and they melt like really quickly. It was a lot of fun. Brewpilus. So these are like the forked projects for these things that I've actually kept up with. Your profile extends to maximum 10 steps. Your setting might get lost. Features, I2C LCD. We made a tap handle that has a VFD character display in it that this can display information on. It was awesome. Remote temperature control, remote schedule, etc., web-based OTA, soft AP, gravity logging, gravity-based temperature schedule, export data, brew and calibrate, tilt and wrapped pill support. Neat. Cool. Wow, there's a lot. There's a lot to this. So this would be the update to the controller that I had, the Fermentrack controller. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get around to resurrecting the brewing setup because I really enjoyed it. It gave me stuff to give my friends that wasn't super expensive. I could be the beer fairy and just hand out beers to all my buddies. And they super duper extra loved it. Right now, the project is growing peppers and making some kind of a spread out of the peppers that my friends then enjoy. That's sort of how I give back to my buddies for supporting me over the years. Yeah, it used to be brewing, and I had the whole comprehensive setup that made it nice and easy and took me out of the equation where it counts. Certain areas that you can mess up, I sort of automated myself out of, and I enjoyed doing that kind of thing where it's like, well, I screwed this up, so let's make a machine that does it instead. And I had a couple pretty good brews that I was working on. There was one that I was kind of chasing the dragon on. It was a North German alt beer that I really, really liked. But one time when I brewed it in my old apartment, it was delicious. Like buttery smooth, delicious. And I have not been able to replicate that since. I think maybe what happened was it actually was infected and that butteriness is not supposed to be in the flavor profile. So perhaps the dragon that I'm chasing is failure. Oh, it plugs in here. Boom, 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 boom. I love it when a rhythm has that. There we go. That's a little cleaner. Exiting out the side instead of hitting up against that, and I can back this thing all the way up and get it a little bit out of the way. I can scooch it a little bit out of the way. I just brewed a Hefeweizen that won People's Choice at a local brewery last week that had a homebrew taste competition. Damn, I gotta find some of those. Cause like, I could do lagers with the fridge setup. Like, yeah, ich mein Lager. And they'll be like, oh my God, and their heads will explode. And then we have to clean it up. We're not gonna need this much. No, that's too much. That's too much. Task failed successfully. This one was weird. I added a bunch of stuff to this breadboard, and it's kind of old and kind of busted. Maybe not this. This may not be the right flavor of breadboard. We're gonna find a breadboard and then we'll start stream. Where did all of my breadboards go? I had one that I was running specifically for the mixer. That one was up here. I think I put it in a safe spot, which means I don't know where it is. And then I had a couple other ones that I bought recently. Where could they have gone? Oh, here's one. Here's one, and this has a couple little audio things, a couple little synthesizer things on it, but we'll just relegate these to the top shelf. And this will be our Raspberry Pi board. Because we just need to adapt it directly over to something digital. So we're not going to need like a bunch of components doing stuff. Grainfather G40. What is that? I'm going to look that up too. So to do grain, oh, look at that thing. Holy shit. Oh, I've been meaning to get one of the more commercial fermentation chambers so that you have that big valve on the bottom where you can just get rid of all the waste. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, this thing looks cool as hell. So this, what is this? Just completely controls your... Yeah. See, I've got the full Herm system that uses those Bayou things. I found a bulkhead that you can braze onto the stainless steel. So you use this really awful flux and this alloy rod, and you can braze a bulkhead onto the pot. So I use a conduit punch out, you know, the things that the Sparkies use to make the punch outs and the nice you know, smooth punch outs that don't cut you. And I'll do a punch out, and then I'll prepare the area, put the flux on, put the bulkhead on, torch it until it melts the alloy in, and that sort of wicks its way all around the fitting. That dries or cools off, and then you clean it. You clean the ever-loving crap out of it because you don't want any contaminants getting into your brew. And it's I believe it's food safe after that because you're not getting up to high enough temperatures for it to leach anything out. You put your recipe in the app and it adjusts the temps for mash and boil. Oh, wow. So I was using Fermentrack. No, not Fermentrack. BrewPie in order to do the HERMS, which involves, here we go, 3 giant things of liquid and grain. And so I've got the full like mash tun filter on the bottom with the boom tube and all that stuff. And then that circulates through the hot liquor tank. Liquor equals water because brewers have to call everything different. It's like sailing. So it goes through the hot liquor tank with a stainless steel coil that I have on stainless steel compression fittings. I wanted absolutely no plastic anywhere in this. The tubes are silicon rubber, but silicon rubber with trash connectors on the front. They call them trash connectors. They're just high volume, quick connects. And then this has its own pump, and it's also got a very large water heater in it. So it's 220 volt water heater. It's 5,000 watts. So I heat the hot liquor tank and control that temperature, and then the mash tun, lauer tun, whatever, that it filters down and keeps everything at just the right temperature for extraction. You're finally taking on my interest with electronics. I have an entire control panel that covers this thing, and I bought all the appropriate DIN rail mounted stuff. It has a Raspberry Pi on a DIN rail mount. It has all of the contactors and stuff from like motors and controls stuff that I've accumulated over the years of estate sales. And so when you turn it on, you flip the switch to power it up partially, and then a yellow button lights up, and then the control panel's locked. You can't open it once you flip it on. You push that button and a contactor goes thunk, and then the Raspberry Pi turns on, gets on the internet, and you can go in and tell it what temperatures you want and turn on and off pumps. It's awesome. I love my brewing system. It is very cool. The problem is, listen, it's you and me. Like, there's the people who are interested in this stuff are interested in this stuff. But the internet at large, I'm not going to get a lot of viewers with it. Unfortunately, I do want to redo the control panel so that the control panel has like a satellite screen so that I can see what's going on without having this giant ass control panel up in my face. I can tuck it down under the table or somewhere around like that, but I haven't gotten back to it. The 3-vessel system popularity has dropped. Everybody's using a single vessel based on brew in a bag, which is what got the G40 uses. 1 vessel, all the steps, less equipment, less cleanup. Yeah, but you're also using extract, aren't you? If you're using brew in a bag, or do they now do brew in a bag with 1 singular vessel? Yeah. BBL. Yeah, mine were 5 to 8 gallon brews, so they were on the small side, but I had so much control. It's all grain with brew in a bag. My buddy and I used to do brew in a bag, and I guess I grew the system from there just because I enjoyed doing all the building, all the building of stuff. But I guess people are doing brew in a bag with 1 singular container that has better temperature control over the thing and can do its own recirculation. See, the whole thing about the multiple vessel system was that the boil kettle I have sitting on a 220 volt induction stove. And then this is just a hot water heater tube in separate water. And so you can use this to clean everything. You can make sure that you've got good water in here and it circulates, it doesn't touch anything else. And I guess with the singular vessel, that must take care of a lot of these excess things. Like this would be able to boil as well as just heat up the mash to the mash to the right temperature. Interesting. Sounds like I got on this train at the wrong stop because I spent all this extra effort to get all this stuff when I could have just had 1 singular vessel that you throw a bunch of grain into. Getting rid of the old grain is still annoying, but if I only have to clean this thing, how'd it work? What it do? Yeah, so it looks like this just does everything. Oh, man. $40 body built with a sleek 304 grade stainless steel. Heating using the digital controller with the display. Built-in pump. Easy cool wart with a stainless steel immersion chiller. Ah. Stainless steel immersion chiller. Can you use a heat exchanger with this? I'm not about to spend the money, though. That's a good price, though. That's like, I must have spent way more than that on my brewing setup and the slow upgrades of the whole thing. This doesn't come standard. Plug. Requires access to a 220 volt power supply. Oh, I'm looking at the S40. You have the G40. Oh, go brew dot. No, that's not gonna be the right thing. G40. Dang, look at all that stuff. So I guess that's got all of the temperature sensors and yeah, everything just built into one tub. Somebody really sat down with the whole brewing setup and went, you know what? Oh, is this the heat exchanger? Is it a separate part? Innovative features, you can find the G70. This brewing system is your new best friend. 11-gallon, perfect to fill 2 5-gallon corny kegs. Damn you! This is awesome. I just get this thing and just run it over there. At 220 volts, just right over there. It's a counterflow chiller, so I could still use my hot liquor tank to do super chill. that the more equipment you involve in the brew, the more annoying it gets. And this is a definite step forward in the right direction. $10 gallons too much. G40 is the 5-gallon brewer's best friend. I mean, I have enough. Well, no, I only have one wide mouth. What you call it? You could use it to heat the sparge water still. No sparge, like an awesome computer-controlled stainless steel, blah, blah, brew in a bag. Okay, so 3,300 watt heating element. That's what I used to use, and I upgraded to a 5,000 because I couldn't find anything that was stainless steel on the outside. It was all water heater stuff, and it required a sacrificial anode that I didn't want to put in there. So I found one from a brew shop that was 5,000 watts. So I do the full 5,000 watts, and that thing gets hot. I could probably do the boil with that, although I'm afraid that it would burn the sugars near the element. Damn. Okay, so that's $1,500. That puts it in sort of the top hat and monocle realm, where I would if my channel popped off in the way that everybody thought it would. If my channel had popped off in the way that everybody thought that my channel would pop off, I would gladly spend $1,500 and give this thing a try. And then I would be able to have opinions on it. And I think it would be fun to try to do a brew with some magical new piece of equipment and then see what pieces of equipment I have that could potentially aid this thing. And, you know, like I've wanted to get another one of those heat exchangers, the heat exchangers single blocks. I think they're more effective than one of these things. Although this thing has enough turns that I think it might actually do really good. What you're looking at here is two tubes that have been pushed into each other. So they symmetrically docked the two. Wait, no, that's not symmetrical docking. That's just docking. So they docked the two tubes together, much like, you know, we get up to when the stream's off. And they run cool water one way and then hot, what's called wort. Wort is the brew fluid. It's the sugary fluid that the yeast is going to eat, right? They have weird names for everything. It's just, this is what brewing is. So you have two tubes opposed to one another, one flowing through the other, and you put your wort through one. You cycle it back and through it constantly, right? And then the cold water going in the other direction cools it off very quickly. We ran into a problem with this when we brewed mead. When we brewed mead, I remember all you guys are there and, brain fart on the name. Dinsdale Piranha was like, put a wet towel on it, and so I put a wet towel on it and everything. We boiled mead. We probably shouldn't have boiled it. I probably should have done it at room temperature. It's fine. But we boiled it just to be sure, right? Dear sponsors, please send me the trial unit. Yeah, please. I'm not popular enough for this kind of thing. I've sent emails for it and nobody's responded. So we kept getting you subs while you were pouring stuff to try to like intentionally interrupt me during a sensitive part of the brew process. Yeah, I've done a couple brews on stream and they're always draining. It's always a lot of work. This thing sounds like it's a little bit less hands-on, which is awesome. But using the equipment that I have, I could use one of those block heat exchangers, or I could just use the entire mash tun, or a hot liquor tank rather, that I have, which is a giant cook pot with a stainless steel coil in it and a pump. And I could use that to circulate, or well, put cold water into the tank and then circulate the brew through, or I could use their thing if I'm confident about that much silicone rubber touching my brew. And I think it's fine. They seem to give you all the equipment you need in order to do a full brew, which is awesome. And getting 10 gallons of beer, I go through beer very quickly. So getting enough beer to carbonate and then put on the refrigerator behind me and have to serve like on a tap for a little while, it's like, yeah, this is good. I'll bottle this up and then do that. I think that'd be awesome. Are engineers allowed to buy products that make their lives easier? I thought they can only make those themselves. It's true. You're actually right about that. And I thought this system, the HERMS system, was the good way to do it, because if you've got like a permanent setup where these tanks are sitting in on a table permanently, which is what I was originally going for, until I realized that getting all the steam in the shop is a really bad idea. But if they sit permanently, it can be a lot less work. You can make it so that you can tilt the pots forward, scoop out all the stuff in them easily. You could keep your grains in a bag, and that keeps it under wraps pretty easily. You just have to lift a really heavy bag and then put that in a trash can. And then you can use the system to clean itself. You can generate boiling water with one of the tanks and circulate it through the various facets of your device, which is what I do after every brew. And then I come back to it in a couple years and I realize that in the coil, there's some kind of an awful bacteriological infection that I then have to boil out again. Ugh. Properly clean your stuff, kids. But yeah, man, I thought this was the end all be all, but having one singular device, I don't know why I didn't think about that. You can just have one thing. Wait, this is a different product. No, this isn't a different product. Why can't I? Oh, because there's an up arrow. Yeah. Having one singular product to do all of that stuff is genius level engineering. And then I guess all you would need is something like a hose or a faucet to cool off the brew. Because again, sorry, what I was getting at earlier was that with the mead, we did the boil and we put everything in and I oxygenated its space. I have this little add-on that has just a little spike, and it's like a fire sprinkler. So when you put stuff into the it's not carboy, is it? Is it carboy? Is that the word that I'm looking for? In the thing that you're gonna put the yeast in, the big container with the airlock on it. God, why the terminology kills me. It fans out the liquid so that the liquid can take on a little bit of oxygen as it goes. Some people like spray like gas into it and stuff. No. You just need to fan out the liquid a little bit and it'll get enough oxygen for the yeast. But anyway, we did all that, and so I had this hot carboy sitting on the desk, and it's like, what do I do now? I couldn't do anything. I had to wait for it to cool. And so we tried to cool it rapidly, but it just wouldn't cool. Some people put it in the bathtub and draw a bath around it, and that'll cool it faster. Because it'll stay hot for days, too hot for the yeast, and I had all this yeast ready to go. So I had to wait like 24 hours to put the yeast in, and when it finally actually started fermenting, there was something else in there. Something else got in that time. So what you really want to do when you're brewing is you boil everything, that kills everything, right? And then you put it into the carboy, well, you cool it rapidly, put it into the carboy when it's still slightly warm, put the yeast in there, and the yeast goes, man, this is nice. It's like just the right temperature where I can do all of my metabolic processes in order to create a waste product that I'll then eat, and then what'll be left over is beautiful alcohol. And then it goes nom, 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 and you end up killing billions of life forms to make yourself a tasty bitter drink. But having the cooling provisions inside of that thing are pretty cool. The only problem is here I don't have a source of water. So I don't know if I'd be able to use that fully. Actually, wait, I do have a source of water. What the hell is this ad in the middle of... Oh, we changed tracks. We're on something totally weird in Euro. Okay, pausing that. Get rid of start soon. Sorry, I got distracted by brewing stuff. Brewing stuff is like a weakness. I love doing stuff like that because it's like this whole process. This thing, I'm putting a dog ear in. There's no way that like Northern Brewer is going to send me a $1,500 product so that nobody will buy it from my stream. I'm more of like a $100 product or like a CAD system that will inevitably sort of... there are some people here who have seen me working with... what was that? That was WRXing it up, who's the main source of distraction right now. WRXing it up, subbing with a Prime. Hey, thank you for the Prime. Those Primes do not remind you to resub. Those who are continuing their Primes on here, I really appreciate all y'all stepping up. When Burn the Subs comes together, which is, again, kind of what we're working on today, when Burn the Subs comes together finally, those Prime subs get you on the board just as well as anything else. And we are entering September soon. I think September may have already started. I've seen some streamers have it in sort of the promotional title that they have. Check this one. It's more affordable. Vevor electric brewing system. Is it as hardcore though? I can see myself modifying the Grainfather to have one of those block heat exchangers because I think they're more efficient. Although I'm not totally sure about that. Okay, so that's basically the same thing. They make an iced tea. Is there a possibility for members on the board meeting? You guys are going to have a board meeting without me? Sponsored. Let's click on one of them. Get out of here. 9.2 gallons. So not quite 10 gallons, but it's still 9.2. All-in-one home. Don't you dare. Get out of here, pop-ups. Okay. All-in-one home beer brewer with pump. Mash boil device with panel. See, if I got one without a pump, I have a pump. I have one of those chugger pumps that'll pump no matter what. Keep the motor going. 100 degrees Celsius temperature, 1 to 180 minute timer. A 180 minute, 120 for 2 hours. I guess that's all right. Homebrew beer, industrial brew beer, made with pure malt, low malt content, has perfect flathead, inadequate fermentation. I guess they're comparing it, all these black and white photos to their hopped up HDR photos. Customizable tastes. Too gassy and light taste. I just want to know like the engineering of this thing. I'll have to look up stuff about it. It looks like it's the product that was inspired by the other product that was inspired by probably another product. The thing is I have a lot of stuff towards brewing for my system. The Grainfather's the Cadillac. Yeah, that sounds about right. A couple guys in my brew club that have it. That's adequate. The thing, like, I don't know, Fermentrack or BrewPie helped me control the boil more than I think these might let me. I don't know. It seems like I could get this and then take over its brain. Wow, that's a great brain you have. Shame if somebody were to rip it out and replace it with a Raspberry Pi. That would be a very cool project, but is it a $1,500 project? No. The last time I spent that kind of money, I bought the 3-phase motors that were going to go towards robot arms. They might still go towards robot arms that were going to be Burn the Subs. So I bought the Granite Devices controller and all that stuff in one big giant order of a really expensive stuff. And it turns out I could have gone higher wattage with the drivers. The driver that I have is adequate wattage. I wanted to have the comedy of having this thing capable of breaking my thumbs, the steering wheel project. It may still have that amount of power, but it also is just little enough power that I can take over and actually, like, you know, move it against its will. The Granite Devices controllers that I have, one of them may go towards the milling machine when we do a little bit of a redux of this thing, and I put it up to belts, and it'll be quieter and faster, and it'll have braking functions so that when I stop, the spindle will go pop and just stop where it is. All that stuff I would like to build into the mill eventually. And I've got all the parts. I just don't have the pulleys. And then with the brew system, you know, if I get something like that, I'll want to put a Raspberry Pi in it. I don't know if I'll get back to the brewing stuff. It is one of my huge interests. It's one of those things where if I made it far enough to spend that kind of money, I would definitely do that, and then get rid of all of the all the recirculated match stuff that I don't need, all the extra stuff that I don't need. I'd probably keep a couple elements of that, but I put a lot of work into that brewing system like 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Oh my God, how many years ago? It's like 10 years ago when I first started streaming. Oh God, oh my God, it's almost 2026, isn't it? Anyway, what are we working on today? A project that is exactly what I've been working on 10 years ago on this stream, which is burn the subs. So we can do the, pog face, oh my God, or soy jack, or whatever the hell that is. Burn the subs is a cool project. It is a big control panel that controls an XY laser etching table that sits on the wall. And the cool part about it is what it does is it takes the names of subscribers and it puts it onto a word cloud-like display of everyone's subscriptions. And it finds a spot where a name fits and it logs it to a database, and then it enacts the database in the real world against my will. It does it without my input. It is automated, fully automated. You guys are in control. So you sub to my channel, blue laser turns on, puts your name onto a physical board in MeatSpace. I have two other boards. One board is filled with 5,998 names. I say 6,000 because it's so goddamn close to 6,000, and somebody put an all caps Twitch username in there. Oh, hiccups. Put an all caps Twitch username in there, and it just broke because it couldn't find anywhere to put it. The board probably could have fit like 10 more names if it wasn't an all caps 16 character name. There are certain criteria for Twitch names, and so we take advantage of that in order to put names onto the board. In that system, the size of the name got smaller and smaller depending on how many names were already on the board. That was the old system. The new system, we're going to use the fixed font size. We are going to use bubble lettering, and we are going to use what's called a Hershey font, which sounds like a Hershey squirt, but it's not the same thing. It's not the same. It's not. A Hershey font is designed for machines to use, where you may have something that needs to put a minimal amount of scraping on your product in order to just put a label on there. So it is a font that is a single line, as if you were drawing it with like a marker, and they're typically very blocky. It's something that you would put into like a laser engraver on an industrial thing so that it takes less time. Bubble letters, of course, you have hollow letters where the outline is expressed by the laser. Takes a little bit more time to burn. Subscribers are going to get bubble letters. Gift subs will get single line Hershey font. And so I think that'll look really good on this block of live edge wood that I bought like 5 years ago. We have been working on Burn the Subs, and I have not been putting my all into it. I'll admit, I have not been putting my all into it because I try to keep variety going here. I like the variety of projects that we can work on, all within the purview of making stuff and doing things that are fun or funny with engineering. So it's just, you know, I haven't put my all into it. We're concentrating more on Burn the Subs. So Burn the Subs is going to come up more and more. I'm going to be building the foundations of Burn the Subs. And so what we're doing today, well, like in the past, what we've done is I've worked on projects that are related to things on Burn the Subs, related to 3D printing, related to engineering, related to this, that, the other thing. And so that's sort of building up a little bit of a foundation. One of the big things that we did recently for Burn the Subs, and by the way, YouTubers, you know, I don't know if I've enabled any of those monetization things with YouTube. I'm too Bush League. I get like 5 viewers on YouTube, so I'm not YouTube royalty, right? I am nowhere near one of these big maker people out there. You know, Strange Parts came into the stream one time and said, "Oh, you're that Twitch guy. Oh, bother." And I said, how the F do you know who I am? It's weird because you know, very little engagement on YouTube, which means I don't have those monetization features, so I can't build an incentive that puts you on the board. If you want to be on the board, you got to come over to Twitch. And that's sort of the thing. Maybe that's how I skirt by the toss of having both YouTube and Twitch on the same chat, is that I very, very strongly favor Twitch because they're ATI, they're ATSTs, their API allows me to actually have a system where I have chat on screen and where I actually have subscriptions coming in, whereas the YouTube API has you pinging it and using up credentials as you ping it that run out after a day, and then they'll re-up the next day. But it's like, man, come on. They need some kind of like a pub sub or you know, whatever event API exists nowadays. They don't do that though, because they're Google and they don't care. What method did you land on for keeping the water from leaking out of the laser water jacket? What did I do? I injected it with ultraviolet epoxy and swished it around, and then used the light, the UV light, to activate it. I don't like that though. The other method that I have is using the SLA printer, using the Goop printer. And I think that's going to be the best method. I have a smoked SLA in there, which is basically just mixing clear and black. And the clear stuff looks really, really good, and it's got a ton of detail to it. It's blurry on that camera. So part of getting the water jacket to properly cool our laser diode was figuring out how to have a watertight print. Now, since I got the SLA printer, that was a project in and of itself. And even during that project, you guys were on my ass about, where's Burn the Subs? What's Burn the Subs doing? And I'm like, bitch, I am working on Burn the Subs by doing this other thing that's also interesting. You guys don't know how much I weave this stuff together. I'm planning it all. It's all up here. I know what I'm doing. So I did the whole saga with the SLA printer. That's stinking up the other room right now. I need to clean off the bed. But what we did is we bought a broken one, and instead of buying 2 broken ones, which is what you're supposed to do, because these SLA printers are only a couple very simple functional blocks. You have a computer, you have an axis that moves up and down, you have disgusting garbage goop that will ruin your immune system, and then you have a huge UV light and a theater quality black and white display LCD. That's it. That's all there is to these things, right? And so we bought one, and this one said flickering UV light. And also, for some reason, it had probably been put in the box with a bunch of the goop already in it. So the goop was everywhere. It was all over everything. Nasty. So I put the gloves on, got out the isopropyl alcohol, rubbed down the whole thing like it owed me dinner, and then got it working again. It apparently, the 2 wires that go to the giant ultraviolet LED inside of the SLA printer had frayed ends on it, and it looked a little sus. So I think what had happened is somebody very quickly shoved those in and tightened them up, and they were a little bit weird, and maybe a little frayed end was shorting stuff out. I don't know. Either way, all I did was pull out the wires, twist them a little bit in my hand, put them back in, screw terminals. Everything works perfectly now. So for about a third of the price of a flagship Goop printer, I got a working flagship Goop printer. Now, since I've been able to actually test it out and print a bunch of stuff with it, we know that this, of course, seals because it's like a 4K resolution screen doing all the different pixels and stuff. Like this is Fallout Power Armor, the good one, and it looks awesome. I'm tempted to paint this and then put LEDs in the base so that it lights up, so I can have glowing eyes on this. You can't really see some of the detail because I printed it in clear, and clear looks like frosted glass, and it makes these very, very nice prints. Now there's a couple of weirdnesses on the print, like flat surfaces are kind of hard for an SLA printer to do. It kind of needs that super duper detail in order to keep things from distorting. And so there's a little bit of distortion in the laser shroud. I designed a laser shroud. It's a lot of flat surfaces, right? I'm not going to make it have some ornate pattern on it or anything like that. I printed it, and it mostly has its dimensions correct. So what I can do is get the laser stuff out of there, put it into the SLA print, and then seal it with ultraviolet epoxy. It's the same stuff, right? I have smoked SLA. I bought black, I bought clear, and I mixed them, and they make this wonderful, it's this material here. It makes this wonderful smoked print. All I need to do is run the prints so that I can, it's this right here. You can see how it's a little clear. But I can make a smoked laser diode holder, And that way we can see bubbles inside of it if there's too many bubbles, or if there's a bubble, we can just see that if the bubble's dancing around, we can see that it's actually getting cooling fluid. And that we've tested it. We've tested the one that I sealed with ultraviolet epoxy. Even though it's a chromed thing that sits around the laser, because the laser diode, you need to put it in like a block of metal so that it has something to cool with, right? Because they'll eventually build up heat. And it's very easy to cool stuff like that. You know, if you have a big enough piece of metal and a low enough power laser, you don't need to do anything. It'll just cool ambient air. I wanted to water cool it for the memes, and because these blue lasers are running pretty hot, they get pretty hot, and the more I cool it, the longer it'll last. Very minor. These are not, my reasoning is not super solid. It's not super solid. I could literally put like a fin on it and that would cool it perfectly fine. That's what we used to have. We used to have a little laptop heat exchanger that was just attached to the thing, and it had this cool little sticking out little heat sink, and I put a sticker on it that says your ad here. Fun times. But this one will be water cooled because of the memes and because we're water cooling all the rest of the control panel. We ran the laser. We ran the laser at its power level that I like to burn at, and we ran water through the jacket, and the temperatures were just stable. You could see on the thermal imager, nothing got hot, nothing at all. It was perfect. So heat soak into that volume of water with the pump running and everything, it's not going to be a big deal. We will be able to test it a little bit later on too, where I'm going to eventually set up for doing a bench test where we have 2 stepper motors sitting on the bench, and then we have the full control panel sitting here hooked up to all the stuff, and we'll have a laser, and we'll have the appropriate amount of tube and everything like that. So I'll be able to set up a bench test so that we can test to see whether or not we can get Klipper to alter the brightness of the laser properly, and we can get, if not, we'll have to use that super duper Gerbil, whatever. But then get the motors running, get the API running, get everything put together without it being hooked up to the board, and then I can go over to the board and we can hook everything up. So that's what we're building towards. One of the features of Burn the Subs is that I've got this giant ass, high quality, super duper Vicor power supply sitting on the thing. And that power supply will be more than adequate for running Burn the Subs. I mean, this is more than adequate for running Burn the Subs. Burn the Subs is like the flagship project of this stream. So I want to put all of my best stuff towards it. And so in that best stuff is this 24 volt Vicor power supply. Technically, I mean, the stepper motors like higher voltages, so like 30 volts, 32 volts would have been probably ideal. 24 is fine though. Stepper motors are perfectly adequate. We can get enough detail with them in order to burn all the names. And, you know, they don't necessarily need to be juiced to the gills in order to run properly. So in front of the power supply, because it's this big ugly slab of metal with heatsink stuff on it, I would like to hide it essentially. And so I printed this sort of front cover to hide that power supply, and then figured out that, hey, you know what? That's about the size of these LED screens that I got for that purse thingy. It was like a pretty princess pink purse with a big LED display on it. And these panels are cheap. They're awesome, but they're cheap. And so what I'd like to do is get this to run either milk drop plugins or just some ambient LED thing that'll tell me that the power supply is still running and everything's still working properly. Our indicator LEDs on the side of Burn the Subs, there's like a side panel with a bunch of LED indicators that we made a circuit board for. I don't know if these will be useful because these were in relation to the functions of the old Burn the Subs. Because old Burn the Subs got up on the API itself, but I had so many times that the API credentials would expire and I would have to go into Burn the Subs or whatever, the Fartbox or whatever else, and remind myself of how to redo the credentials. That happened so many times that I got really fed up with it. So I decided to move everything to Node-RED. And in Node-RED, we have just a node that is the Twitch API, and it branches off to every other thing that I do interactively in this shop. That's why we have the idea light, where if you say idea in the chat, it'll light up, or if you subscribe, it'll light up red. This indicates to me the status of things coming into stream. The other one, and I don't know if it's visible on this frozen camera, is it behind this? Hold on. This over. Oh, that's locked? Unlock you. Oh, I know you're locked. Frame this one. Yeah, there it is. The on-air light is another one. I kept walking away from stream and accidentally leaving stream running for multiple hours. So the on-air light, when I end stream, it goes green. So if I turn around and stream is still running, it's red, and I go, oh no, it's still red. Eventually, I want to put that into more of like a vintage on-air style sign. So anyway, the possibilities are not endless, but they're pretty big for this. So I would like to set up a Raspberry Pi as sort of a test bed for doing LED stuff, because I think this would look really cool. I could go into the 3D model and I could print out a clear insert that would diffuse this a little bit. And then we would have just kind of a cool thing going on. Please do not end stream. I use stream as a timer. Whoa, man, people crazy use for, that's a weird use case. So I want to set up a Raspberry Pi test bed so that we could do some LED stuff. And potentially, eventually, I would like to get Project M running on the Raspberry Pi. I don't think that's too big of an ask. And if I can get Project M running, it's possible that I could get Project M running into something like this with Python. I don't think it's going to require a Raspberry Pi 5. I've got a glut of Raspberry Pi 3B pluses. If I bought a second Raspberry Pi 5, I could potentially burn the subs on the Pi 5. Do I need to? No. This thing is so incredibly powerful that I don't really think I need to. Time for charging the battery for glow plug. Well, your glow plug or mine? I don't have a glow plug. I'm not Diesel. Anyway, or no, glow plugs are for RC cars, right? So, what is the Raspberry Pi going to be doing in this system? Well, I don't think it's going to be doing the business of figuring out where the name goes on the database. I think all it's going to be doing is running G-code glow plug for RC car engine. Wait, stream is your... Oh, you're just looking up projects. Okay. All right. I was like, you're timing my stream for the glow plugs on your RC? That doesn't make any sense. People are building clusters with it for AI. Jeez. Yeah, I've seen in the past, I've seen all kinds of cool cluster stuff. You know, people make racks that you put these things in. It's crazy. But they're also the reason that we can't buy them right now, right? So they're kind of assholes. I'm not doing AI cluster shit. We can build the Furby to be... Actually, well, that's one thing that I need to talk to Kryken about. I don't have channels that I can talk to Kryken with. I could maybe message him on just the normal Twitch stuff, and he might actually pay attention to me. Or he might chew me out because he hates me and he doesn't like my presence on his stream. I don't know. It could go either way. But I would love to talk to him about what he and Charborg did with AI on his stream, because he will frequently have... you know, these guys have more active chats. So if it's something like Milton T. Pike's Neural Johnson bot, it looks at all the text and it tries to make a unique comment based on the text that's already been uttered. That may be an avenue that I should go. But with AI, what Kryken has done is he's had the AI watching along with the stream, and it will frequently, periodically, chime in with some kind of an AI comment, which is usually a little bit saccharine, and it's a little bit too cheery, and it's a little bit too weird, which is kind of something that I would love to go for. And if I could do that, if I could get a system like what they're running, give it a unique voice, plug in the AI, use some kind of an API to make this comment on what I'm doing in some kind of a saccharine, annoying way. And there was also somebody made Rude GPT, where ChatGPT would insult you. And I would love to hook this up to that, because then this thing could open its eyes. We'd put red LEDs behind them or lasers or something, look around, and then say something completely off kilter, wiggle its feet, and then go back to bed. I would love that. It doesn't need any AI. It needs to swear randomly when it hears a noise. Yeah, something like that. I mean, I'd also have to put the Boodles cap on it permanently, because it's too cute. So I want to do that at some point. I want to rip out the guts of this thing and then put in our own motor control and hook it up to something like a Raspberry Pi. And then if I could potentially give it either AI or just, yeah, what Gonad says, give it a bank of swears that it can utter. I don't know if we can send, this thing probably has this thing has a speaker in it. so we could use the internal speaker as well. Yeah, that's something for the near future. I really want to work on that. I'm gonna put this down here for that because I think all that's available. And so what Kraken has on his stream is he's got basically Charborg's voice put into AI and pitched up a little bit, and then he'll have something like Golem come in and comment, "Oh, I see your, oh, Whiterun, what a great place. The people there are very nice. Have you had a bagel?" And then like it just says random crazy shit. I want something real that does that. The sweary Furby. If I make too much of a noise, it just fuck. Holy balls. I don't know. Sweary is great, but AI making some weird comment would also be pretty good. This seems really fragile. I don't know, we'll have to get into like what the mechanisms are here that make this thing operate. Make it look up with the damn dog. Are you getting my stash or something? All right, anyway. Does it have a weird voice? The Furby probably. I would consider just throwing away the electronics because I want to fully take this thing over and have it, you know, do my bidding. Maybe give it deployable arms that look really, really horrible, like spiky robot arms. I don't know. That's something for another day. But all of my use of APIs and stuff make that possible. Oh, he's missing an eyelash. I actually don't know. He, they. Oh, and the ears. The ears are articulated as well. Oh, that's actually pretty funny. Ears go down, eyes go red. Target acquired. Have a potato peeler pop out? Yeah, so these apparently communicate with like I believe just infrared. These were made before Bluetooth Low Energy was a big thing. So they communicate with each other with infrared and they speak their own language, and then they eventually learn how to communicate with each other. We're not gonna do any of that. I am gonna make it do our bidding. It'll do stuff for us. So when you guys set off a fart, maybe you'll do a little dance. I don't know. Well, the fart box is kind of its own thing because that was a dollar store fart noise maker. So having this thing do its own thing, it would be very funny if we could make it, you know, I don't know, speak to me in Japanese or insult me. Okay, so anyway, ideas are flowing, and we need to actually tame some of them. Mere nachos. The original AI training. Yeah, that kind of was original AI, wasn't it? Before AI was a thing, we had the Furby. But hooking this up to some kind of an AI so it says stuff a little bit more comprehensive and weird and derailing would be very good. I mean, I could make that talk through it. People have done stuff like that before, though, right? Anyway, too many fires burning. Let's get back to LEDs. I want to make LEDs do stuff on a Raspberry Pi. So in order to deploy a Raspberry Pi, I need to reflash a memory card. Fermentrack can go away. It's largely obsolete, and I don't want to run it anymore. If I plug this in, then there's an alternative MQTT broker in the shop. So Fermentrack goes. And if I need to resurrect my refrigerator, because this is what was running the refrigerator, I'll have to figure out another project. So here is the old memory card. Is this an appropriate memory card? Well, this is going to be our physical computing test bed as well, with a headless Raspberry Pi setup. Yeah, this is a decent quality. SanDisk Ultra HC. What are the different micros? HC, what is HC? There's some stuff that explains to you, like demystifies stuff about memory cards. Oh, this is from SanDisk. They're not gonna... Buying guide from TechSpot. I think that's... So this one is... There's a guide out there that I read at some point. Oh, here we go. SDHC, Secure Digital High Capacity. I don't think this is a secure one. It's just HC1. Oh my God, the ads are starting to trickle in. Four speed classes for the SD. This might be an old guide. UHS, HSDS. Man, I don't know crap. I don't know what speed this is. Most of the stuff you find when you're looking for information like this is just gonna be like ads upon ads. Oh, here we go. Just a picture that visualizes it. We have C10 A1. This little guy over here. C10, and then there's an A1. I don't know if the C10 means that it is 10 megabytes per second, megabits per second is that? And then I guess it's HD video for the corresponding video format. Wait, I don't need to worry about that. I don't think we have a bin 1 or bin 3 or a V10 on it, right? No. So complicated. Well, this is SanDisk Ultra, so I think it'll be relatively well survived. And it's 16 gigabytes, which is way more information. That's way more data than we'll ever need from this thing, running a Raspberry Pi. Now, I'm going to start from scratch with this. I'm going to erase what's on there and put our own stuff on. For that, I need my SD card reader. I think I threw out. I think I tossed it in the garbage. Hold on one second. Let me see if it's hanging over here. Maybe it's... Hold on. I got one more place to look for this thing. My SD card adapter that I don't know if it works or not. It's one of the ones where you have to plug it into a specific slot on the PC. Even though it's USB 3, you have to plug it into USB 2. Otherwise, it messes up. That's a thing that's apparently valid. Oh, there's a drive that I need to format. Let me see here. Those are earbuds. Whiteboard markers. Nope. No card. What did I do? I may have thrown it out. I was using it to set up something. And I think I just got fed up with it and threw it out. Which means I have no SD card readers. Maybe it's in this drawer. It might be in the drawer that's right here. There's a 1 terabyte SD card launched 2 years ago. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? A laptop with an SD reader? Possibly. Oh, here it is. Nope, that's not it. Wait a minute. That's not it. Here's the inland one. Ugh. This one is... Oh, boy. I got a couple cheap ones sitting here. Oh, and here's the one that I used. Okay. I got a couple of these things. So, if you find one that actually works... Oh, what did my thing... Hold on, my chat didn't update. Oh man, I missed a whole bunch of chats. Hold on, guys. I'll come back. Yeah, I missed a whole bunch of chats. My thing went all weird. The original AI training CIA spy system, the Furby. It's an SD card, secure as part of the name. Oh. Wait a minute, but it's not secure at all. Class 10, 16 gigabytes. Yep. Exhibit from Pimp My Ride made the speed classes. I think, what? There's a 1 terabyte 2 years ago. Now you have to make a cable. Got a laptop with an SD. Are those unsupported AMD cards? Well, wait, unsupported AMD cards? What are you talking about? Is it an SD card? I use SSD via USB for my Pis. Got tired of the micro SD card errors. Huh. SSD via USB. That's an interesting way to do it. Man, if I did that, I could use my M2 memory and have an actual SSD sitting in there for the database. I guess the database is going to be handled now by Python running on Node-RED. I'll have all the same programs that would run on the Pi itself, but they're going to be running on a much more capable system of my file server. And so it'll be able to test spots really, really, really fast. Oh, the ones all the way over there? Yeah, no, those are, well, there's no card in the first two. There's no card. The 970, no, what is that? The EVGA, yeah, that's a 970. That one actually does have the card, but it's a 970. But that's the 1080p FTW, 1080 FTW, and then this is the 6900 XT. One's in the computer behind me, one's in the computer that's in the rack. So those are actually active cards. They've got water cooling blocks on them. You can get a Pi. Hate to mount M2 drives these days. It would be kind of cool if you could just slap one on the back of it. We don't need that much storage in our Pi. One of those would make a nice drinks coaster. Oh boy. Okay, I'm inclined to use the badass looking one just because I bought this heatsink and I've never used it. So I think we're going to use this one. We're going to completely reflash it. I've been here before. I've been here. RPi with USB 2. It has a USB 3 thing, but it says RPi with USB 2. So this is a warning to myself that I would inevitably try to plug this thing into a USB 3 slot and it wouldn't be recognized. But let's play with fire. Let's just get this thing over here. This is just a deferred connector from the USB hub, the powered USB hub over here. The streaming setup has kind of grown over the years and things have gotten kind of a little weird. Most of the stuff that I use is in this corner here. So the keyboard and mouse are plugged into the USB 3.0 powered hub, along with a webcam that is super high bandwidth, which really doesn't help things, and a bunch of other stuff. One of the other stuff is that connector over there. That then connects to a USB-C hub that goes directly into the USB-C port of the computer itself. And then I've got a USB-C power adapter sitting right there. So, and then also the Stream Deck is plugged into this powered hub as well, which is a whole lot of bandwidth for this stuff to move through. Actually, the mouse is plugged in via USB-C to the USB-C hub, because I think if I plug it into USB 3, it messes everything up. USB-C port. Yeah, it's the USB harbor. Oh, we got to do that. I got to make something with this for the modular synthesizer. Maybe once I get MIDI running, I got to make something with this that outputs control voltages depending on where on the grid you touch and how hard you touch the thing. Because these are variable resistors, and the harder you press on them, the less resistance there is for the grid location. Pretty cool. I could do like an X and a Y and then have, yeah, I could do all kinds of cool stuff. All right, so any of these would probably work. This one is USB-C. I want to try it. I want to try the USB-C one. So before I plug this thing in, we also need to go to Raspberry Pi org and get their installer. So we can flash this immediately with all of the stuff it needs in order to come up on the network. USB 3.0 booted Pis are pretty good. Interesting, USB 3 Pi. But I thought this only, like I wouldn't want to use the USB 3 port because that's power. There's a fan connector too. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm not going to use the 5. The 5 is a little bit much. Yeah, this is a little bit much. We're going headless, rather. Deadless? What are you talking about? Deathless. Okay, so let's close some of the detritus. I want this, but it's $1,500 and I don't have the money to get that. I'm too small for sponsors. This would make a really, really nice, it would be a fun stream to test out this magic brew pot. But alas, we have to defer that to another time. And I'll find you, WRX. I'll show up under your bed one day and ask you about where that comes from someday, because I'll forget. Okay, so back to, what is it? It's probably raspberrypi.org, but I'm just trying to go to the Pi Foundation main website. Huh. Oh, this is, hold on. Cache the chat. Boof. Oh, it's great that works. Whatever, allow me the cookies. It's just fine. Track me. Track me everywhere. I don't care anymore. Everything is tracking everything these days. All right, so we want to actually, like, install Raspberry Pi. Where did that go? Why are you hiding it? There's a computer for that. I don't know. The Pico Pis are nice. I like the Pico Pi, but the more extensive, the Zero W, the Raspberry Pi 5, all the other weirdo things that they've got, they're a little too powerful. There's a little bit too much to them for the type of things that we do here. The compute module's pretty neato too. You could design whatever hardware you want to have the Pi interface with, but ultimately it is a lot. Having, that's kind of neat. You can have a Pi 5 and a keyboard. That's neat. You know what? I don't use it as like a desktop. So it is a lot of fun though to do physical computing with a Raspberry Pi, because you could write Python and it'll execute the Python fast enough that you can do all kinds of interesting stuff. I'm looking for like the download link so that I can actually make this thing do something. And it seems like in the redesigns of their website, they've lost track of that sort of thing. Oh, here we go. Software, Imager for Windows. Being able to do this stuff on Linux too is pretty nice. Imager 1.9.6. We're going to install it because I haven't done a Raspberry Pi in long enough that I think we should probably install the newer version. Yeah, the debate on my desktop computer is whether or not I want to switch over. What's going on here? Oh, it popped under something. There we go. English. Yep, I want English. Previous version was found. That's next. That needs to be uninstalled first. Sure. Next. Accept. Next. So here's the thing with projects like this. This is the stuff that can often really kind of hamstring the progress into the project. You know, I'm not opening up the old program, I'm reinstalling the new program. If I were to open up the old program, it might have compatibility issues, or it might say, this version is too old and you need to do this, that, and the other thing. Fine. Usually this stuff glosses over pretty easily, but every now and then you run into a microcontroller platform or similar, where, you know, this is exactly what happened to my nephew the other week, is we bought a kit from Micro Center. It had been sitting on the shelf for quite some time. My folks, when they bought him the kit, they didn't really realize it. So he came down here, sat down with the computer outside of the shop. I don't know why he didn't come into the shop. I think my parents gave him like this dire warning about how dangerous it is in here, which is fine, but I would have rather he come in here and work on the project nearby. Anyway, so maybe I stink out loud. He was working on this project and trying to get it together. It's a very simple sort of home automation house thing, right? And I have an Intel Edison board somewhere, by the way, Nachos. I have one of those boards. I've never used it. Who's it? Twisted Sister was like, you could get one of these for like free. I'm like, okay, cool. Give him my email. And I didn't do it. I'm like, what do I do with this? It's like a cloud computing board. Anyway, I don't even know where to start with something like that. This is, again, and also the Intel Edison. Where do I start? Raspberry Pi. Where do I start? Arduino. Where do I start? Hello World is where you start. Getting your computer set up to talk to the thing is where you start. That can often be the worst part about any of these projects. The cool thing about the Arduino back in the day is it used to take a lot of knowledge to start with a microcontroller. You say, what does a microcontroller do? It executes instructions. How do I get code onto the microcontroller? You need a $300 programmer and you need the software. That costs $70 to $100. Okay, never mind. I'll do this another way. The basic stamp, the Arduino. I need to take a sip of water. Hold on. Pizza. I had one slice of pizza for lunch. It's killing me. Okay. You used to need like a $300 programmer in order to load code onto a thing. In order to program something as comprehensive as a computer with like a desktop, You just spent all this money on a computer with a desktop, right? And then it didn't have like the layers of physical computing that something like a Raspberry Pi has. It was very difficult to get started out with these very simple things. Cool thing about Basic Stamp, cool thing about the Arduino, cool thing about the Raspberry Pi, they made those steps essentially free to where you buy the hardware, you can talk to it. You bought your hardware, you can talk to the hardware. Arduino brushed all of this sort of device defining flags and register settings under the carpet. So you don't have to worry about that. You sit down and you go, how our code work? And the website says, hey, code our work by running setup once and then repeat running loop one line at a time. Don't worry about nothing else. And if you want a pin to go high or low, you just say, pin, go high or low. And it goes, okay, yeah, cool, I got that for you. It'll translate all of that into proper microcontroller instructions. They might run a little bit slower. Typically they don't. Or they might be a little bit more rudimentary, but you can get to the step where you actually do stuff in the real world. So that's what I love about this stuff, is that we can do a fairly minimal amount of setup and we can get hello world running on your device. Once we get through that, if there are no hiccups on the way, we are in a world where we can then tell, hey, computer, make pin do thing, and it makes pin do thing. That's where these things have really come in handy. The setup of the software and stuff like that, the things that we're doing right now, should go without a hitch. Sometimes things happen. I'm not too aware of the things that can happen. That's where a lot of users get into trouble, and where us more experienced people with this kind of technology need to be lenient. I've seen too many threads where people get really rude about the very rudimentary early parts of a setup like this going wrong, and the person asking a question that, oh, this has already been asked, or it's like people have these problems and we need to just help people through. The more people get through this stuff, the more eyes on this type of programming there are, the more cool and wonderful and amazing art we see in this world, right? So anyway, that's a little bit of a diatribe about this part of the process that I'm showing right now. I am showing this part of the process. It's going to go way more smoothly than I think it would for most people, but if we run into a problem, I can at least show that happening. All right, I don't want a desktop shortcut. I'm going to click next. It's going to install the program. The Basic Stamp was so unforgiving with those pins. Draw too much current, you could kill the internal voltage regulator and it dies. The Arduino is only slightly more accommodating. It's really not that much more accommodating. You can, I mean, yeah, the Atmega 328P can do some pretty interesting stuff on its deathbed, but you know, if you put 5 volts into a 3-volt microcontroller, you're screwed. Choose device, choose OS, choose storage. All right, so here's where we're going to try to see if this SD card shows up with the USB 3 reader, because I have it. I just, for some reason, I've got this inland with like a food stain on it. It's got like food on it. Why does it have food on it? It's got a LED, it's got a USB, it's got a SD card that we ripped out of another Raspberry Pi that had been working for many, many years without a hitch. A word on micro SD cards, these can go bad. They can go bad suddenly. If you have a lot of writing operations that go on the card in your Raspberry Pi setup, if it's a permanent installation of some kind of a project, these can get manky with a lot of read and write cycles. And when they die fully, as in nothing. So, one, it would be prudent to back up your setup if it's going to go into a more permanent installation. I use words to communicate ideas. Use words that are in brain mutter words. Brain is soup from stream. Buy a better SD card. Buy one of the ones that aren't cheap, because the cheap ones they'll mess you up. And then consider, if you have a permanent installation, going to something like either a thumb drive, a good thumb drive, or some kind of an solid state hard drive in a caddy. Those have gotten pretty cheap now, right? I've got a bunch of old ones that I could potentially, move over to this stuff. If we were still doing burn the subs the way we used to, as in the database would be stored with everything, I would consider getting my old 500 gigabyte SD or SSD and hooking it up to this thing, but with a little USB caddy. Because these are, I mean, these are computers, right? They're fairly capable at what they do, since Linux has been shoehorned into literally anything that's able to think a little bit. I'm sure they've installed Linux on like those bugs that they put the little wires into their brains. Still using SQLite. We are going to be using, well, Peewee because it's funny. We're going to be using exactly what I was using before, but it will be on the file server. So I'm going to move the Python code over. Sorry, I'm burping a lot. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. It's that one singular slice of pizza for lunch thing. It just makes me burpy in the afternoon. Yeah, we're gonna, well, okay, so it's still gonna be, it's not gonna be internal to the device. It's gonna be over here. And then over here, we'll do all of the vetting of the names, because I need to move the database over here. Because first of all, the processor that you made me get for my file server is like well overpowered. It's being utilized like 0.1% for file server duty, which is fine. That means that in the Dockers, we can deploy something Raspberry Pi-ish, or we can do it in Node-RED. We can do it fully in Node-RED. We can run Python in Node-RED. I can have it do all the database, you know, jiggling and figuring out where the name goes in there. And then it can send MQTT instructions over to our burner. So it can say, hey, here's all of the M code that you need to run now. And it'll run that M code. The device itself will run that M code. We're sort of cloudifying some of the, not really cloud. We're sort of offloading some of the burn the subsiness to another device so that the database can get big. Yeah. Because the database will get big with the amount of M code instructions that it'll be saving into itself, which means uploading it to GitHub might be a little bit of a hassle. But then if it's in Node-RED and it's in a physical file that's on whatever Docker the Node-RED is running, then I can run instructions on the Docker to upload that to my GitHub. Right? I think. Correct me, because I don't know what I'm talking about. I have no idea. There's a special slot down here on this USB-C hub, but I think this will fit here. Yeah, this will fit here. Let's just plug that in. Whoa, with a big resonating thunk. Autoplay, boot, D drive. All right, so it saw the drive. There's a notification that came in behind me. Yep, there it goes. So choose storage. What? Scarlet welcome disk, USB. Oh, it's my thing. Storage device, USB device, 15.9 gigs, mounted as the G. So we're going to put it there. The device. We're not doing the Pi 5. We're not doing the 4. We've got the Pi 3 B+. We're going a little old school. Choose OS. All right, so which one are we using here? 64-bit, 32-bit, legacy, other devices. There's actually some interesting other devices. There's some cool stuff down here. Freemium, emulation, and game OS. That's really just a thing. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that would be like an entire... I need to set up like a Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis device for the TV over there. One that won't look all weird. Other Pi-based OS. Light 64-bit. I don't think we need anything other than the light. We don't need the full deal thing because we're setting it up as headless, right? RetroPie. Yeah, I would love to do that. And then you can get like the USB. Well, cabled would probably be better, just so it's I don't have to deal with Bluetooth. What do you guys think? Light 64-bit? No desktop environment. I think that's what we want. 64-bit can go, well, I guess it wouldn't be listed if it didn't go on the 3B+. It's a lot of computing. It's a lot of capability that we're not really going to use, but yeah, and then if stuff is missing, I can add it. Next. Would you like to apply OS customization settings? Yes. We're going to keep the default as Pi Raspberry. Now, the computer heads in here would be champing at the bit about this, and they have in the past. They said, how dare you continue to have the default password in your Raspberry Pi? That means anybody could get into it. I'll tell you, if somebody is in hackable distance of my Raspberry Pi, they would be visible in this window, because the RF signals do not get out of this house. And you cannot remotely hack into my Raspberry Pi. I challenge you. I don't actually challenge because somebody will actually make that happen. But yeah. Wireless LAN, Glorious PCMR is the not very mature name that I've given the SSID. The password is deadbeef. You guys can know that. It's not that big of a deal. We're already in your walls. I'm in your walls making scratching noises. Locale settings, don't really care, but I guess we could do New York. Don't care about keyboard layout. We're not going to plug in a keyboard. Hostname raspi.local. I don't think I need to set that up. All I really need to do is get this thing onto my wireless. So that's pretty much it for setting up the headless Raspberry Pi. I mean, like, locale settings are not that important. So let's go ahead and save that. And I'm just going to say, would you like to apply iOS customization settings? Yes. Now, we used to do this by actually putting a file on the thumb drive's root directory, and the file was just an unnamed text file, didn't have an extension, and the text file had blocks for all this information. So you can look up how to set this stuff up without using that stuff. Other tabs? Wait a minute. No, I'm not sure. Services. Oh, enable SSH. Yes. Use password. Yeah, that's fine. No public keys. I don't care about using a public key. They changed it again recently? Yeah. All right, let's just see. I guess eject when finished. No telemetry. No sound when finished. Okay, so what this is going to do is format the drive and put our whole headless OS on it. Headless means that we're never going to be plugging in a screen. I don't think it means we'll never plug in a keyboard, but I'm never going to plug in a keyboard. All existing data, blah, blah, blah. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. That Raspberry Pi 5 keyboard seems like a kind of a neat little device. I wonder if I should get that, put the whole OS on it, and then plug it into the monochrome screen that I have. Yeah, it's like a neat little cyber deck, huh? Show up at the coffee shop with an entire CRT monitor. I'm writing my memoir. Change all fonts to system fonts. The IBM monochrome green Raspberry Pi. I did a minimal amount of research. Oh, you can run the matrix code on it. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, the IBM 5151 you can adapt to the Raspberry Pi, and it'll just fully run the Raspberry Pi desktop. Like, you can use it with a mouse and everything. But I have one of these sitting in the back, and I would love to get Twitch chat on it with emotes and everything. I want emotes on it. Maybe the screensaver can be the Matrix thing, because that would be hilarious. All right, what's our status here? How are we doing? Monospace font. Yeah, the monospace system fonts. It will show an HDMI if it detects one. Handy for putting passwords in when it fails to connect. Oh, that's right. It gives you like a command line, CLI. X screensaver. This is information that is unfortunately not going to be logged to memory because I'm old. But I will come back to that one day and get that running. I really want to do that. I don't think I'll be buying the little CyberDeck Raspberry Pi thing. I don't think I'll be doing that. But it would be kind of cool if I could put chat up on something like that as either just something I train the camera on every now and then, like for a BRB. I could use that whole computer setup and it would look really cool and retro. Or for when Julian and Dave are here. Actually, it'd be even funnier to hook up the Raspberry Pi to the linear rails of the milling machine and have that display like it's a really old DRO, even though it would be using a Raspberry Pi. Man, and in that case, you'd want to have the keyboard on it so you could change parameters and zero it and stuff. Oh, this is too many. This is like the beginning of stream. I'm like, I have no use for Raspberry, and I could make it do this, and then this would look retro, and then no use for the Raspberry Pi, except when I actually start thinking about stuff that I can do. I think it might be a good use case for the Furby. Well, actually, no, because the Raspberry Pi wouldn't have to do any local computing. It could all be done on the file server. So to run the Furby and have it do various things, I can have it send individual instructions like tilt forward, move eyes, move beak, move ears, right? I can just have it send that stuff, and then in Node-RED, I can plug in much more complicated and remote systems like AI. So I could have it open and close the mouth depending on what it's saying, I guess. Or would it have to be sent like a sound file? That's probably the way that it would have to go. Unless I can do sound over... Okay, sound over MQTT. I don't think that's a thing. Streaming live audio data via MQTT. I'm trying to stream live audio data via MQTT Node-RED to Raspberry Pi. Oh, look! Oh, look! It's that entire facet of the project we just came up with. Is Furby going to burn the subs by having control of the laser out of its beak? No, but I think it's going to get glowing red eyes. There's no way that I can't put RGB LEDs behind its eyes. Behind its rhinestone eyes. RDP might be good for controlling it too. Okay, RDP. I don't know. But this is like exactly... Tested to stream live audio via MQTT between two Raspberry Pi Zero. The output sound is quite clear. But when I try to receive and send audio data via MQTT between Node-RED and Raspberry Pi, audio output in both PC and Raspberry Pi is full of noise. Welcome to the forum. Your question is dumb and I hate you. Thank you so much for your reply. So what is this? Here's someone's trying to use MQTT real-time data. Reason behind it's MQTT. Instead of a protocol designed specifically for real-time data, like RTSP, which is literally what Gonad just... RDP or RTSP, where MQTT is local, blah, blah, blah. Yes, so, I mean, okay, it's you know. Oh my God. It's something that we can easily find discussion on, is how to get something from Node playing remotely, playing audio remotely. Why are you flashing? Do not format the disk. Do not the disk. Raspberry Pi OS Lite 64-bit has been written to generic storage device. You may now remove the SD card from the reader. Oh, I may. Thank you for giving me permission. All right, SD card thing comes out. And then the now warm, the SD card's actually warm now. Look at that. It's showing up on thermals as warm. This little buddy now contains everything we know and love in this world. It's an ambassador of all of our intentions and goodwill. So that's just, I'll just stick that in the big heat sinked Raspberry Pi. It's the coolest looking one that I have. I could put it in like the more bare bones and easy to hook up one with the industrial connector thing on it. Or I could take the top off of this thing and put it on this and it would be just the bare bones. I'm going to use it on this one just because it's cool. MQTT works too if you can get it working. I wasted a week and made no progress on it. MQTT would be for sending like text instructions and stuff. Sending text and instructions and stuff. It's not, when you get to audio, things get a little bit more muddy in terms of like what can send and not, because you want it to be higher bandwidth stuff in order to make good audio. How would I make it speak? That's kind of a big question. And there's probably another protocol that I could use that's involved with Node-RED and allows me to make it talk, make it speak. That's what I use RDP for. It just shouts out on the network and anything can pick up on it if it wants to. I see. That would be kind of weird for audio, but I guess it would work. No sound. That's on you. That's on you, man. You got no sound. I got sound. I'm talking. All right, so Next, we need to power up the Raspberry Pi. Now, Raspberry Pis are finicky. They require 5.1 volts. 5.1 volts and a considerable amount of current because they can kind of get into it with themselves and overdo. What the fuck, bother? Did you just fart on stream, bother? What the fuck are you doing? This is a stream, not a place for you to fart all over the floor. It's disgusting. Absolutely, I cannot, not for a minute. I have a Raspberry Pi power supply somewhere. Can you see it? I see the Raspberry Pi power supply. No, I don't know where it is. It might be in the bin with the other Raspberry Pi stuff because I'm not currently powering up any Raspberry Pis alone. Oh, you know where it probably is in here. Or no, that power supply, that was powered from the USB. I think this was powering the Raspberry Pi previously. Maybe. Is there a power supply brick in the server? I don't see the USB micro connection. One of these days, I'm going to break all this thing down and build it all back up because it's gotten a little out of hand. It's a little out of hand. That may happen soon, in which case I will not be able to stream because everything that I know and love will have been blown up and focused on putting it back together. The whole thing needs to be dusted. It's been too many years. I know, 5.1 is a ridiculous voltage to request. Most of mine run on phone chargers and deal with the normal 5 volts fine. Especially in a headless setup, it's not that huge that you get that 5.1 volts, but the Raspberry Pi will throw weird little internal errors if you don't give it it gets kind of a little bit grumpy. It gets a little sleepy, a little grumpy. Let me check to see if we're gonna be buzzed by the hovercrafts in a minute here. But let me just see if with the Raspberry Pi stuff I stashed a supply. Yeah, it's not looking good. Yeah, where is I have a Raspberry Pi specific wall wart that I used to use. But I guess we could just plug it into USB power for now. Just use that. It was a very specific wall wart that was for this task. Maybe is it right here? Ah, it is. Caution, attention. Wait, what's this one output? I can't see. I gotta bring this one all the way over. Oh, that has a barrel plug on it. Never mind. Wrong one. Yeah, I think it's in the actual thingy wingy. It's actually deployed in the file server rack for powering up that Pi that I had in there. But I guess I could just get a USB micro thingy for it. All right, USB micro. I think I've been throwing away all of the power-only USB micros. So we just have to find one that's just a normal data one, and I'll be able to just plug that in and use it. Oh my god, I just burped nuclear material into my esophagus. What's leaning against me? Yeah, I don't see where I would have put that power supply. I think I actually used it. All right, so here's just a really long cable. A really long power supply cable. It's a shame. I changed the power supply over here to USB-C, and I don't have a USB-C to USB micro, so I guess we got to plug it in over there. I don't think that's not really going to be very happy with us, is it? Oh wait, no, there's two plugs. There's two regular USB plugs. We can use one of each. Yeah, and that way we're just giving it power. We're not going to try to connect data in any way. It's mostly because something sucks the voltage down and it's hungry, so you have to offset it. because it'll drop below 5 volts, and then you get the dreaded error light. Oh my god, all I hear is leaf blowers. So this little guy right here, this is an Xbox controller cable. Now I'm just going to plug that into this USB power brick, this 250 watt power brick, and then we can power this up, and then we wait. So on the 3B Plus, you've got the one USB micro. They have gotten with the times now, and on the 5, you've actually got USB-C, which would be nice and everything, but I mean, putting a Raspberry Pi 5, I could practically do burn the subs now with a microcontroller. Like, we don't necessarily need the Raspberry Pi anymore. It's nice to be able to log in and like figure out what's going on with the whole system, but like, I believe that I could probably put a Teensy on it or some other I could probably do an ESP8266 and run the whole kit and caboodle now. They hate having USB stuff plugged in while they're on. Ugh. So this thing needs to think for a little while, and since we have a headless Raspberry Pi, we don't know what the hell's going on. This thing is just doing stuff. Just plug this thing into the solderless board. Solderless breadboard. Bread. Put 500 volts through it. No. What would I do? What would I do? Streamer, stick your head in a vat of acid for me. Streamer, do it. Come on. Stick your head in a... Oh, that's what's going on. This one's bent. Stick your head in a vat of acid. Do it. It would be funny. It's expanding the file system. Yeah, it's like sweeping up the floors and making sure everything's ready to come on in. Do it for the views. Do it for the views, streamer. Come on, streamer, do it. Yeah, we give it a minute, and then I need to check, let's see, I need to check my IP addresses. So I need to figure out what IP address this Raspberry Pi has put itself onto, and I don't want you guys to see the credentials for my wireless network here, so I'm going to go into that on my own. Oop, it went to 2.10 and it opened up the shop light. Oh my god, and then the lights turned off. Everything's breaking. No, it's just because I have the controls right in front of me. Turn them back on. Hey, wait, I clicked it too many times. Hey, I remembered the password, everybody. So now I'm just going to look at the list of wireless devices, and I'm going to find whatever calls itself Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi 2.123. And I guess what I'll do is I'm going to make it 2.123 static. I'm going to staticize this thing. So if I go into... Oh, which one was it? It was... I haven't done this in a long time. So WAN network, and I go to, or no, is it, I do it in LAN. Yeah, to the DHCP server. And then 2.123. Client name is Raspberry Pi. And then I'm going to add that. I should probably give it a different name, but I'll just leave it as Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to add that as 2.123. And now stream may or may not be interrupted when I hit apply. I'm going to hit apply on this, chat, and I might lose all of you. I'm going to hit apply on the DHCP pool. I'm going to give this thing a static IP address through my router. I've been doing static IPs through the router. I don't know, maybe that's not the way you're supposed to do it, but I have a list of everything that's in here, and it includes a lot of MQTT devices. Technically, like, the best way to do this is you get another router, and that second router is what's managing your MQTT devices. It's probably a better way to do it. I have all of the static stuff in my own router, and that's a ton of MQTT devices that sit around the shop. So I'm gonna hit OK on this. We'll see. Pi-hole was very reluctant to let me swap IP addresses between them. Took ages. I let my Pi-hole do mine. I need to tell router to not do that. So the Pi-hole is giving you static addresses. That's interesting. Huh. You should get a Pi 5. Maybe that would be able to do it much better. Streamers only do things if you give them money. That's true. If I get money, then maybe I can get that brewing system. I don't brew anything right now because it's so much of a pain in the ass to bring all of the pots into this room, hook them up, and then I subject the whole room to steam during the boil. I have fans and stuff that I can set up to do the steam extraction. If it was just one big pot, would I be brewing more? I don't know. Maybe I would. Buy me a cool toy, chat. No. It's so expensive, and I don't know if I'd actually be doing that. Sounds like a lot of work. Most of the work is getting rid of the water that you don't use in the system. I had kind of like a drain system that I was using a whole bunch of rubber hose to drain out all the old water. The plumbing is the worst part. That's why I wanted to set up like a brew station that had its own sink. And then I could do all of that processing and brewing and stuff. It seems like having the one container do all the work for you might be pretty good in terms of the amount of wastewater, like dealing with the wastewater. It seems like you just have to run external water through it at one point. Everything else is handled with internal heaters. That seems pretty cool. I don't know. I got a lot of equipment for brewing that thing can replace. Okay, I'm gonna hit apply and the stream might hiccup. Please wait. Applying settings. 10%. They're fully connected. 87%. Applying more settings. Did it ever stop or did it hiccup? I'm now not signed in. I'm signed back in. Sign back in. Here's the DHCP pool. 123 is now 113. 123 is now Raspberry Pi as default. Doing on-off stuff. Okay, so next step. We're getting there. We're almost at the level of physical computing with our Raspberry Pi. We powered the Raspberry Pi off of a USB charger. We have the OS installed. We did that through the raspberrypi.org installer. Back, but I'm stuck in the ad. Oh, I'll wait. If everybody's watching an ad, I promise you I will do nothing. I won't even be funny. Okay, I'll give it a minute. Let everybody get unstuck from whatever ads are being shoved down their gullet. That didn't do anything. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. I'm gonna unplug the fart box and plug it back in. And then I'm gonna test some of my lights. Okay, the lights still work. That's my one button to turn on all of my stream lights. There should be a static IP on the fart box. Let me test it again. Maybe the fart just got stuck. Ew. There it goes. Okay, now it works. Okay, so the DHCP pool I run, the one device that I run it from is the router. So I let the router give everybody a static address. It helps me with having all of this crap around. The MQTT devices are on a very low number of the pool. They're very low in number. The unstatic IP addresses have their range, and then I've got a variety of other static addresses for certain devices that, for instance, like the file server needs to be on a specific one. My computer, it's helpful if it's on one specific one for all the file sharing stuff that my file server recognizes. So that's how I organize everything, right? So that's how all that stuff is organized. We just gave this Raspberry Pi a static IP address so that it's always going to go to the same address every time, and it won't be annoying to find it in the future. Do that just by knowing your router software. So that's another facet of running a headless Raspberry Pi for physical computing that can trip you up. It's just one of those things. Now, Burn the Subs, we did a bunch of stuff with Python in it, and I don't remember what all that stuff was. I don't remember any of the stuff that we did with it, like all the extra little command line installs of Python stuff. Maybe we won't need to do that, but we'll see. Turn on MDNS so you get hostname lookup. I'm not gonna do that right now because it'll do what just happened to my stream, which is where everything goes haywire. But I should, if I don't have it already, let me check to see if it's enabled. Let me check. Let me do my due diligence and actually check this stuff. So I need to go to my router's address. Stupid Verizon makes us use their weirdo router. I can't buy my own cable modem or whatever to run the internet in here. Fatanon has fiber going directly to the router. I wish I could do that. I would do that in a heartbeat. It would be amazing. All right, so I'm looking to see where I would enable MDNS. On an Asus, uh-oh, something didn't load properly. It's not direct, but it's pretty close. That's awesome. Why did my router stop responding to my queries? I have viewer. I have TwitchR running. I see 6 inches. Oh, and it just, okay, admin. Okay, DHCP server. That's not where do I enable MDNS? Is that enable manual? No, that's not. Route? No. IPTV, switch control, jumbo frame. I don't know what any of this goddamn stuff does, Fat. There's Asus never thought to have a search through settings button like all of these things have nowadays. AI Cloud, why don't I enable that? Oh God, it's got the name Alexa is in my settings. What does that mean? Am I enabling IPv6? No. AI protection. Nope, you know what? Nope, I'm closing it. I'm closing it all. No more router settings. All right, okay, so we've got all that stuff configured, right? Our Raspberry Pi is getting up on the network. We can see it through the router. We can see that it actually is connected. It has an IP address that we will always get back to. Now, what do? We've got it powered. The light's blinking. It's doing stuff. What is it thinking about? What does it know? What does it know about me? The way that I do this, and this was on the behest of everybody in chat yelling at me for months at a time, the way that I get into the Raspberry Pi and I load it up with code and I actually code stuff is the most annoying way that I think I could possibly ever do it. I program Python in Notepad++. Notepad++ is a fairly more programming interface. It's basically a text editor, but it can do contexts. And I keep it super duper simple. I keep it very simple. I don't like to have a big, whatever that's called, a UTI. What is that called again? It's an API. Yeah, it's a UTI, right? It's the thing that helps you program is called that. Anyway, I don't like to have IDE. Yeah, I don't like to have an extensive IDE that's like doing my homework for me and like wiping my ass. I don't want that. I like to have just text sitting in front of me. Cranberry juice will help with your IDE. Okay, yeah, I'll work on that. I have all the programming tools. I could program in whatever the hell people want me to, but I appreciate the simplicity of just having a text editor. This is how we built Burn the Subs, and Burn the Subs is like 2,000 lines of code that are able to do quite a bit. So anyway, Notepad++ and ferrying a file back and forth using what was it called again? Using WinSCP. think it was LED TV Live that pinned me down and said, you have to use this. So let's just get the upgrade. Let's upgrade to the latest version. WinSCP is just a way to get into your Raspberry Pi and get into the file system and also get into the command line interface. What just happened? Did I not click the right thing? AI augmented self-service. Close. I love that articles are coming out that are talking about the AI bubble bursting. All right, so let's run WinSCP. WinSCP is a handy little utility, and it's pretty much where I live when we do this kind of computing. Yeah, that's the thing is when we open up console, it uses PuTTY, which is the way that we would typically get into our Raspberry Pi and take a look at the command line interface. So this helps me just streamline that whole system of throwing a file over and having it execute. All right, full upgrade, install that. So we're just getting the latest version of all these tools. We're not done updating stuff yet. As soon as we get into the Raspberry Pi, we have to update stuff as well. Don't open the getting started page. Finish. All right, so this is WinSCP. Your computer would be on the left here, and the Raspberry Pi would be on the right, I think. Right? No, this is the file structure on the Raspberry Pi, and then this would be the file structure, the individual folder information stuff. And we can literally just drag and drop code onto the Raspberry Pi, or we could use any of the number of tools here to aid along with this. So what I'm going to actually do is open up a new tab. Each tab represents a different connection. I typically only have one connection going at a time. You can see that I have a whole bunch of stuff that is probably pretty obsolete sitting over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new one, a new site that's already selected. The host name is going to be 123 TestPi. Even though I didn't rename it to that on the network, I will find a place where I can adhere a label onto this thing. Maybe I could just write it with a pen. Oh, let me get a pen. I have these markers that are for marking holes. These are for hole marking. They're very long, but this one is white, so 2.123 in a spot where it's going to be hard for me to smudge this with my thumb, because I'm never going to be plugging in HDMI unless I make this into the text runner. I guess I could probably write it here too, but places where I wouldn't smudge it very easily. And actually, typically I'd get the label, or maybe I could put a label like here. That would probably be the better way to do it. You know what? I'm going to do that. Fuck this. Fuck the paint marker. Oh, that's actually on there pretty good. Huh. Well, it's easier to read when I do it with just the brother labeler. Which is in? Which drawer is it in? There it is. What do we got loaded up? Black on white. All right. This thing is worth its weight in myrrh. Uh, 192.168. Oh no. Yeah, that's what it is. 2.123. And that does not need to be 32 points high. Size, take us down to a reasonable 8 points. That's the marker version of a Weevil. It kind of is. Yeah, we just put that right there. I don't really have a name for this one. It's just the test bed. So I'll just make it... Actually, no, you know what? I should put another line on that. That's a wasted label. All right, line 1 is going to be... What did I call it? 123 TestPi. 123 test. Those are lowercase. Can I? Yeah, I can do caps. test p lowercase I. All right, 192.168.2.123, 123 test pi. Go. Cut that down. Yep, that'll fit right there. Just put that right there. And this way I can't smudge it. No smudging. And we know immediately that this is my test pi. And what the IP is. And it's crooked. My FreeCAD has crashed yet again. Well, they all do that. They all do that. Every single CAD program waits until just the right moment. I think it's a feature that they have where they wait for just the moment where your hopes are up. Everything seems to be coming up Milhouse. And then they just dash your hopes and dreams. And I think they take a screenshot and send it to the developers so that they can all laugh at you during their coffee break. There's a willow hair under the label. So now I know how to get into this thing in the future, and it's unequivocal. It is clear text that I can kind of read with glasses on, and it won't smudge when I run my finger over it. And over time, it doesn't bleed into the tape. I originally, on those the little Wentai bins, the surface mount storage bins that I have, I wrote with a Sharpie and then put a piece of clear tape over top of it. And that doesn't work because the Sharpie will bleed into the clear tape. So now we have our beautiful little Raspberry Pi that we can test physical computing stuff on. This is why I structured this stream the way that I did. And actually the label should probably be the other way around. Who cares? Why I structured the stream the way that I did is because it's going to take us a little while to do all the setup because I'm going through kind of the very basics of setting up a Raspberry Pi to do physical computing. I'm going to need to find that flat cable too. But yeah, now that we've got that, the username is Pi, and the password is RASPBERRY. Raspberry. And then we need to log in order for it to save this as a new client. So I'm going to hit login, and the test pi does not, okay. And then it closes the whole program because the Germans program this thing. Is this a German program? Maybe not. I don't know. So I gotta open the program again. All right, wait, turn off the labeler. Get that out of the way. New tab. See, it just forgets everything. Okay. Wait, what are these? These are, yeah, 2.156. And it's Pi Raspberry. It said it couldn't find the host. Try it again. 192.168.2.123. Pi Raspberry. Oh, I can actually save it over here. So I'll hit save over here. Folder. Save password. All right, so at least we've got that. Wait, why is it pi at blah, blah, blah? Oh, because the username I put in is something else. I see. So we're just calling it pi at. Okay. Log in. So now we have to accept the key, the host key, which is fine. Accept. And there's our login and password. And so now we've got the root folder with all the stuff in it, the bin folder, and then we were sitting in the initial directory, wherever that was. I forget now. But the cool part about the Raspberry Pi, if you plug in something like a Dallas Semiconductor temperature sensor into this thing, it will actually make a folder in the file system where it has the current temperature information and stuff. It's crazy the way it does stuff like that. They're going through unlimited suffering with all the math they have to do for the programs. It's understandable that they want to share the pain. Thanks, Linux baby. Everything is a file. Okay, listen, I'm not here for the advanced users. I'm not here for you. I'm here for the people that don't know anything about this kind of stuff and may have a similar perspective to what I have. But okay, so now if I want to actually get into the console, there's the button all the way up here where I can open the terminal. Do you want a separate shell session? Current SFTP3 session does not support command you request. What? Separate shell session? Yeah, do whatever, man. I don't care. So then it opens up a new... Actually, this is the wrong button. That was the wrong button. I hit the wrong button. Never hit that button. That's the bad button. It's a bad button. The button that I want is the putty button. Which one was that again? I thought it was open terminal. Do they still use putty? Should. Yeah, control P to open putty. It's just not, or I'm not seeing it. I'm probably blind. Oh, there we are. There it is. So this is the one that I wanted. Open up session and putty. Yeah, it's, but I guess that would be the native, and then this is open putty terminal. I prefer the putty terminal. It's just simple. And I've got the font size blown up so that we can actually see it. All right. The first thing of running any Raspberry Pi or any Linux thing in general, sudo permissions, which is dangerous. Oh, wait, you know what? They changed this. Wait. In the 5,000 years since I've done this, they've changed the apt-get update and apt-get upgrade. So we need to look up what it is. There's no shame in looking stuff up, even though chat might lord it over you. Believe me, if Obother can drop down into the dregs of the unknown from a perspective of a complete newbie, even though chat has seen him do this 10,000 times, and they will judge me for it, you can do it too. Tell me, AI, because you're all-knowing. That's just an explanation. It doesn't need get. So sudo... It still needs sudo permissions because it's going to be changing stuff on the files, and so it needs to have that super high level sudo permissions. So sudo apt update. There we go. So that's going to update the file system of the Raspberry Pi to whatever the latest is. This is an important step with anything Linuxy. This is also going to get a list of all the packages that could potentially be installed in this thing as well, depending on what we have it pointed at. And I probably should have told it to be less verbose, but whatever. We just need to run these commands. Sudo just tells Linux that you do indeed have a beard and know what you're doing. But that's the problem, is that you don't necessarily have a beard and or know what you're doing. Sudo just tells it that it can fuck itself up. Like, I am the user. I command you to do this. I've had a friend of mine get something that told him, like, running such and such in sudo is stupid, is one of the error lines. So we're not done yet. Sudo apt upgrade. We did update, right? Yeah, update and then upgrade. It updated the morons? Oh yeah, it's going to ask you if you want to continue several times, which is why sometimes they use like a dash command at the end. Just updated the mirrors. So the list of things that can be gotten was updated. The list of upgrades that can be gotten, the list of packages that can be installed was just updated, and now we tell it to upgrade all the packages that we have installed on this OS. And so it does, and it does it, and it makes you look like Super Hacker Man. If you have a second keyboard that's not plugged in, I would suggest typing at it right now. And then every now and then you hold your glasses and you go, we're in. And then you go back to banging on the keyboard as all this stuff over here jumps around on the screen. apt get install burn apt install burn the subs. And then we're done. And we have a fully functioning burn the subs with all of the new updates that I wanted. Why are you reading the change logs? Those aren't for you. Why'd you stop? Uh-oh. Oh my god, there it goes. Silly Raspberry Pi. Change logs are for me, not you. Do we need to install Python 3? Or what's the... Are we on Python like 5 by now? Do I need to install Python 5? And then all my old Python doesn't work? I don't know what parcel tongue we're up to these days. That's going to be a weird thing about like this computer. If I go to Windows 11, all of the weird console stuff that we installed on this thing, and then the stuff for the mutable instruments, STM32, that was like a whole virtual machine that we ran. And I guess that'll be, maybe if I go to Linux on this computer, that'll be easier, because I can still run OBS. I can do everything but Fusion 360. Maybe it'll be easier to have like virtual machines for different microcontrollers. Like if I go to program an Arduino, I can have that exist within its own little environment. There's still a fight between 2 and 3. We had to upgrade from 2 to 3 on ours for some reason. I think 3 probably just works a little bit more smoothlier. Oh, Fat, did you see this stuff? The bounties of my new and incredible fame. The fact that I'm a household name now in America means that folks like 3DX, 3D Connection, send me a $100-ish 3D mouse kit for CAD mouse kit. This thing still collects dust though. It's good, but it still collects dust. You have to kind of have a very specific setup to really want to use it. I've wanted to get one of those. The mouse is okay. Is it worth the like $70 or $80 that they charge for it? I don't know. How much? I forget. But I think I looked up the whole kit and it was like $100 and something. I don't know. I don't know if I'd suggest, because this feels a lot like my gaming mouse. It's built a little bit. It's, you know, the materials are a little bit nicer. It's got slightly better plastic. It's got a little bit more of a weighty feel to it. The plastic has a nice texture on it, and it doesn't appear to be. Eventually, this is probably going to have a smooth thumbprint on it. Oh, just the 3D part? Well, so Speedy Cat is like super duper duper pro sunk cost fallacy about how cool this mouse is and how it glides around and blah, blah, blah. It is just a mouse. It's just a Bluetooth mouse, right? It works okay. It's got the Microsoft mouse shape. I like it, and I'm going to continue to use it and sort of, ferment my opinions on the whole thing. Wireless puck. Same thing as the wired puck that I have. It's nice that it's wireless because you can have there's a little switch on it where you can turn it off. If you're traveling, it's got a little case. It integrates with a 3D project very, very nicely once you set it up properly and you have all of your axes. The buttons on it, take it or leave it. I don't need buttons on this thing because they're always kind of a hassle. The center button on this thing opens up a 3DX Connection menu that you can slightly customize. It does have a macro engine, so you can set up macros and stuff to do some jobs in CAD that, you know, some jobs or functions in CAD that might speed up your workflow. It takes a little bit of dedication though. And in the end, this thing flying around your CAD model, mine's sat on the shelf for years. So yeah, good spinny thing. I mean, you can spin around your CAD models. You could do virtual walkthroughs if you're doing architectural designs, which is kind of a neat use for this thing. You learn to love it eventually in Kerbal Space Program and potentially Kitten Space Program, if, you know, depending on how they're doing with control interfaces. This thing is indispensable. When I was building stuff, Kitten Space Agencies. In Kitten Space Agency, I could fly through the model and, well, in Kerbal, I could fly through the model and add hidden struts to stuff. And then you could eventually set it up to help you dock. So that's kind of the cool use case for that. I was going to add a 3D mouse to the joystick setup so that I would be able to 3-dimensionally maneuver. The problem is, like, it's kind of hard to isolate your axes. And you see how this thing's kind of moving around a little bit as I try to move it back and forth, because like there is a maximum that this can move, but there's also a maximum control input on the move, and you don't know really where that is. So it ends up sliding a little bit. If you get some of that very soft plastic double-sided tape, the stuff that is for like gluing stuff down, you know, like if you have a USB hub, there's this clear plastic double-sided tape, and you put that down on the table, you put the USB hub on it, you can plug and unplug in stuff forever, and then if you twist, it'll break off. No, Blu-Tac's not strong enough. This stuff that I'm talking about is like a double-sided tape. That would be really good under this to hold it in place so it doesn't move at all. It's what I use to attach these two things to the side of the desk. It's not VKB. VKB tape is evil and super strong. This stuff is weak enough so that if you twist something free, it'll come free. Yeah, so my review on the 3D mouse, I don't know. You have to be a very specific kind of person to really take advantage of that. And you guys can see from my use of it that I'm not doing anything with it. It needs to be very close to the, if you're using Bluetooth, it needs to be very close to the Bluetooth dongle. Mine is about 4 feet away, line of sight. It's got line of sight, but it's still, if I unplug the mouse, it has like a big lag to it. That's why I have it plugged in currently, so it's nice and smooth. And when it is, here, I'll unplug USB, and then it'll take a second. Now the mouse rate seems to be much greater. The mouse moves much faster when it's not plugged in because it's pulling, I guess it has to do with the amount of signals that are going through. So if I move the receiver closer, this would move slower and smoother again, which could be a problem. But if you're traveling with like a laptop and you have your CAD program on the laptop, like it would be perfect for that. And I'm considering whether or not I want to go back to the gaming mouse on this computer and park this thing and use it only with the handheld computer. I haven't used the handheld computer for a lot of stuff lately. I haven't been traveling or anything like that. Yeah, so this is the compiling time for your programmers. I see it, then I wait. I guess for KSA, I could probably move this to the other computer and use it over there. And so we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait. Our LEDs tell us that things are still happening. Don't want to bump that connector and disconnect. Boy, the audacity of Raspberry Pi to put an audio plug on the outside. That's an audio plug, right? This, wait a minute, this has one power plug. Is this a 3B plus or is this a 4? There's no way this can't be a 4. Oh no, the 3B plus is one power plug, okay. What was it, the Pi 2 that had 2 plugs? Which one had 2 plugs? I think that's the one we have on Burn the Subs. Yeah, this one has the 1 plug too. You're taking crazy pills. This one has 2 monitor outputs, which is pretty swank. Update was waiting for you to reply. Uh-oh, it's one of those. Press any key to continue. I don't have an any key. Inframs.com. Why Yinodes? Wait, that's flatulent or Fatanon. That's Fatanon is a Yinoid. He's a Yinoid-brained Pittsburghian. Pittsburgh-coded Yin's brain. Yinodes. Why? Okay. That was on me. You can use those little dash commands at the end of upgrade to not have it ask you these questions so you don't run into this. You just approve everything. Yeah, it's not waiting for the any key. It's waiting for a specific key, and that key is Y. Enter. Whoops. Right after I had said, it's going to ask you some things a couple times, so. This is the kind of stuff, and like, this is for the basics. All you people out here with the basics that want to know what the basics look like for this kind of stuff, here it is. It's accidentally not hitting Y for 10 minutes. When it gets down to doing the Python, I guess I'll need to figure out where I need to make the directories and everything for that. Just like a basic project directory for testing stuff, and then throwing in a couple lines of Python. When it gets to actually like implementing stuff on the pins and getting the pins to do stuff, I found it to be very, very easy. Once we figure out what we're doing, you write the lines of Python and the pin just does what you want it to do with each cycle of the each cycle of the processor. I can't use my microcontroller terminology on the Raspberry Pi because the Raspberry Pi is a whole damn computer, and it's got priority tasking and memory cleanup and all the things, all the complicated things the computers do. Computers and microcontrollers, they are of the same stuff, but they do things just a little bit differently. Microcontrollers are much lighter weight in terms of what they're doing, and they don't need like a taskmaster to figure out what things they're supposed to do. Now, in some of the more complicated microcontroller code, that does actually exist. There is something that is determining when the microcontroller should do some house cleaning stuff, house cleaning, keeping connections alive, and doing stuff like that. When you get into the more complicated libraries with microcontrollers, you get things that start to resemble computer architecture. Because they're of the same, they're cut of the same cloth. One's just a tablecloth and the other one's like a little napkin. A little postage stamp. Look at all this stuff that's being done. It's like we're cool hackers doing hacker stuff. How fun. Processing triggers for ManDB. Generating, booting. I don't know what any of this crap is. It's great. How warm has the Pi been during this whole process? There's a little bit of heat to it. Heat sink's doing its job. Really, the Raspberry Pi does not need, the 3B Plus does not need all that much to keep it cool. I'm not sure what the Pi 5 needs. I don't know how much this thing needs. The Pi 5 is like a big heat thing on it, and there's a lot of pretty big chips. I don't know what it needs. I think generally these idle air cool themselves pretty well. Most of these chips nowadays, they dump all their heat to ground, and you're supposed to dissipate the heat on the ground plane. One of the things that I liked showing people, the Pi 3 will happily go up to 70 and throttle itself in its case. But the thing that I do like to show people is the incredible heat dissipation capabilities of the design of the Raspberry Pi. This one is currently not powered on, but if it was, even with this heatsink here and the heatsink here, you would see an even color on the thermal cam. What that means is that the ground plane is dissipating all of that heat really efficiently. Oh yeah, the Pi Zero running video is like crazy. But like, these can be really good at dissipating heat. Obviously, you do need a little bit of extra heat sinking, but I mean, like this thing never throttled, and it just had one open air heat sink and another heat sink inside of the case. This was still dissipating heat just fine. But I got this cool heatsink case just because it looked really cool. It's got contacts on all the chips and everything, so everybody stays nice and cool. Okay, so we're done upgrading and updating, so now I don't know what to do. The last time we did this, I think chat brought me through this part of the process where I actually started to load Python code up onto the Raspberry Pi and actually do stuff with the pinouts. So this is probably where I should look up physical computing. And if it comes up with my stream, we're not in luck. Oh my God, just allow the cookies, I don't care. How to use GPIO pins on your Raspberry Pi to interface with electronic components such as lamps, PI, or blah, blah, blah. What will you need? Everything that we already have. Go away. What will you learn? Absolutely nothing. You're gonna forget it all and come back to this page. Additional information? No. Okay. GPIO pins. One powerful feature on the Raspberry Pi is row of GPI pins. Blah, 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 blah. They all have specific functions, and some are general purpose, etc. Okay? There's the pinout. Yes, that's what they all do. Lighting an LED. So we need a resistor as a current control on the LED. You can plug the LED into the solderless breadboard. You can power it with the 3 volts, but there's not a ton of 3 volts that this thing can provide. The Raspberry Pi already is using up almost all of its power supply. So you got to be careful about utilizing that 3 volts. Generally, it's better if you have like something else to help power everybody. Type which Python 2? You're gonna like make this thing uninstall itself. Python 3 version 3.11.2. Main APR 28/2025. So we're good. We got Python 3. We're gonna use Python 3 just because that's what the previous burn the subs use. And then we will determine what folder we want to put our code in, and then all we need to do is do Python 3. Yeah, because we're now in Python 3. We just started it up. I can hit Control-C to exit. Nope. Exit. Leave. Help me. Exit with parentheses, and then we can exit out. So now we are just in the Raspberry Pi command line directory. Yeah. That was Python 3. If I have little code snippets that I want to test out, I can run them in there, or I can that's how I would run that, or I can point Python 3 specifically at the code that I want to run. Or can't I just try to open the file and it'll run? I'm not sure. I'm learning all this stuff again because I've forgotten it all because we haven't done burn the subs in so long. So the insidious subversion, the thing that I'm doing that's a little bit subversive here is that I am subverting expectation. No, I've forgotten everything. It's been years since I've learned this stuff, and so part of us doing this setup stream is that from the perspective of a baby, I can actually run through all of these steps with you guys, and it'll help bring me back up to speed with doing this kind of stuff. You say Python 3 and then the file name, and then it'll run typical. Okay, so without the greater than less than. Need a shebang in the file to invoke it directly. I'm updating my brain. No, what I'm doing is I'm running around with a broom and getting all these cobwebs off of everything. Like, what the fuck, these cobwebs on these neurons? I got it in my mouth. Yeah, that's what I'm doing essentially, is running through the paces again. Use it or lose it, especially as you get older like me. You start to forget things, and I only ever commit the bare minimum of what I need to into my brain. And that doesn't pay. Some of these people in chat, they live, eat, breathe, and sleep Linux, and then they wake up and snort Linus Torvald powder and sit down and they just know what to do. Yeah, I think we did that. I think, press F1. We did that in Burn the Subs, so that when you power up Burn the Subs, it would start running its code. And we'll probably need to do that in this code eventually when we get it to run, especially the LED code, because you don't want to, like, oh no, the power flickered, I need to go run all these commands on the file server. I used to have to do that. I used to have to run all these commands and get all these things up and running again when power went out. So we're going to try to make this stuff come up automatically in the future. Now, for our purposes of doing physical computing, the thing that I'm reading about right now, we will execute the instructions individually, because unlike with the microcontrollers just wake up, they go, and then they just do everything. Whoa, my throat was too dry to make that noise. Yeah, the microcontroller comes up to power, it goes, and then it just runs code over and over and over again. But I don't like relegating computers to do that. If we're doing like a test bed, we won't have it just do whatever. The only thing worse than Python dependency management is Node.js dependency management. Oh, geez. What do we have? Dependency, man? I don't know. All right. So anyway, Now we want to actually do something physical with our Raspberry Pi. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get an LED that I've already got a resistor hooked up to. So that would mean they were just, I was just looking at them. These guys here. These are LEDs that I've already got resistors connected to. With an LED, if you're starting out with like a simple Raspberry Pi thing and you want to just get that hello world working, because that's the important part, this is what we're building up towards with programming stuff. And again, UV from Astral is the new hotness for Python dependency management. That is so far above my pay grade right now. Right now, we need to concentrate on the very basics. So what we've done is we've installed Raspberry Pi, the operating system, the whatever it's called. We've installed it onto an SD card. We put the SD card into the Raspberry Pi. We let the Raspberry Pi boot up and get on our internet, get on our IP. We've connected WinSCP to that IP, and we've had to get all the latest versions of everything to do this, right? We've apt-get update, or apt-update, apt-upgrade. We've checked to see that we do have Python 3. We now have a headless Raspberry Pi ready to go. We still haven't vetted out every facet of this Pi. So what we do is we hit it with the simplest code we can. In a microcontroller, in a typical Arduino microcontroller, you have what's called Hello World. And you have this in every programming language, right? But Hello World in the microcontroller realm, in the physical computing realm, is blink an LED, because there are so many different things that can go wrong between your computer screen and your physical microcontroller. So many things, so many frustrating things. So we're programming this thing wirelessly. We are getting into the console wirelessly. In a microcontroller, you would typically get into it wired. I have had afternoons that have been completely wasted by a power-only USB cable. If you find a power-only USB cable and you want to get into embedded development, I would suggest you invest in a pair of scissors, because all of those charger-only cables are garbage. They need to go in the garbage and they need to stay there. Those cables will ruin your day, and to the point where you just go, it's beer o'clock, I'm done. Here, we've got IP addresses and wireless networks and stuff like that. We've been able to handle that. We stacked up the IP. We're ready to go. We're still not doing Hello World. Hello World for the microcontroller, blinking LED. So let's get an LED to blink. Let's do that, and then we'll know that from this console all the way to this physical device, I am able to now run code. And from there, we will look into LED stuff in Project M, which is much more complicated. But they save the day if you're connected to a sketchy power source. Not really, and having a data cable connected to the power source is no less effective than having a power-only cable, because the power-only cables will often use the thinnest of wires inside of their sheath, because everybody has to nickel and dime the consumer to death these days. One sec. No, listen, I simply do not allow power-only USB cables to exist in this shop. That's it. That's it. That's the bottom line. What's up, Dante? All right, so I don't know where the big flat cable is for this kit. I'll have to find it. It's probably buried in something. So instead of connecting it where you'd think I would, I'm going to get the LED and I'm going to just connect it over here, and we'll just use some jumpers for now. Because this is still Hello World and I don't want to involve all this this thing is probably fine. I just don't want to involve it in this. So what I'll do is I will get this little cluster of LEDs that I made. And this is something that I've used in other projects before. I know a little bit about it. Basically, connect on this pin. You've got a 1K resistor and then an LED. A word of thumb for LEDs, unless you're using LEDs from 1983, typically The toilet bowl looking thing, the thing that looks like you should be farting into it, is ground. Because what that is a little concave bowl for reflecting light, and in the middle of it is a little tiny chip. And that little square chip has a gold bonding wire that comes out and connects to this other post. The big old toilet bowl looking thing is typically your ground pin. So this, there's the farts. See, I poked it and I released the farts by accident. So you fart into this thing right here. This is your ground, your negative, your cathode. The anode is over here, A plus, C minus, cathode minus. So this goes to ground, this goes to positive. How do they want us to hook this up in the tutorial? We're just going to simply use 2 jumper wires to do it. Tutorial? Where did you go? Tutorial? Wait a minute. What? Try connecting that. They want you to do the most basic thing and just power the LED using the thing. All right, I'll bite. I'll follow the tutorial. Remember to always follow the tutorial, even if you think it's above you. Even if you think it's sort of below your station to test out whether or not you can power up an LED with something. I'm going to humor this because I am actually above this. Yeah, the compass of the ohms don't fall out. So I need this type of jumper. This is a special one that I made. I don't know if I'll be able to find another one. Where could it be? One super duper duper long. Oh boy. Nope, that's not the right thing. These kits have been through a lot. Ah, these'll do. Okay, perfect. A lot of weird modifications to these things. All right, so our ground, our positive is over here. Ground is over here. And we need to follow the pinout that they list. And so 3v3 is up here. And remember, if you hook this thing up wrong, you can potentially sacrifice your device. So you want to be very careful when you're interfacing with the Raspberry Pi. I play it fast and loose with the microcontrollers, but when it comes to the Raspberry Pi, I want to be super careful that I'm not accidentally hitting something with a voltage that it's not really going to appreciate. And so, lo and behold, the magic, the alchemy of electronics has netted us emission from this LED. My God, burn the witch. What is this grand alchemy going on here? This shuffling of electrons through this mortal coil. I'm going to cough. My voice is getting scratchy. Dear God. What it is today, the temperature dropped significantly. All right, so yeah, the 3.3 volt works. Hey, that's a data point. Yeah, of course, the next thing they have you do is plugging it into a different GPIO. Now, if I were using that big flat cable thing that I should be, maybe at some point we'll set up a Raspberry Pi to permanently be kind of married to a perforated prototyping board, and I can like mount all this stuff to something. That would be neat. Anyway, we could just look at the labels on the PCB. In this case, it's pointing us towards GPIO 17, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I miss, I could hit a ground. That won't do anything. If I miss, I could hit GPIO 27. That won't do anything either. It's mostly grounds and GPIOs in this area, so it's a pretty safe thing. You know, on like the Teensy or the Arduino Pro Mini, some of those initial pins, it's like 5 volts and then 3 volt pins. And so if you have a 3 volt device and you are plugging stuff in willy-nilly like this, you might accidentally, I just realized that willy-nilly is Willie Nelson. Why is willy-nilly referencing Willie Nelson as like doing something randomly and crazy? Weird. Okay, anyway, you could accidentally plug something into 5 volts. So you got to be cognizant of that sort of trap. Actually, there is a 5 volt, there are 2 5 volt pins right here. So if I were to plug something into the 5 volt pins and it went to a GPIO, it could hurt the Raspberry Pi. I'm not sure if they're 5 volt compatible on this one. Anyway, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins down. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins down. The LED turned off. What the hell is this? You told me. Oh my God, what have we? This is The LED is off. What do I... Like a boomer using a word processor. How do I... What? Wait. But it went away. How do I do this? Okay, so GPIO 0 is a new Python library. Oh no, I didn't want that. Do we really need GPIO 0, or is there something else that we should be using? I guess I'll just follow these guys. But I really don't want to use mu. So let's just go back and do Python 3. Raspberry Pi. It should be easier. Successfully use rpi.gpio library. What's blah, 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 blah. GPIO 0 is a recommendation for the official OS. It should be installed by default. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the other one then. So apparently they were correct. But I don't want to use, I want to use whatever it is. I want to use Notepad++, etc. I don't want to use their thing. The power cable for this thing is in the way. Hold on, I gotta move it. We gotta do more keyboard jockeying, so I gotta make a little path for the power cable where it doesn't get in the way. And this keyboard is like open in the back. Not interested. Oh my god, there's gonna be so many pop-ups on some of these sites. Python is an interpreted high-level... Okay. Raspberry Pi GPIO Python or Raspberry Pi GPIO Python module to control the GPIO interface that was developed by Ben. Is this written by AI? Probably. RPi GPIO modules installed by default on recent versions of Raspberry and Linux. Okay. Get out of here. Oh my god. BCM channels, GPIO.setMode, GPIO setup. All right, so I'm tempted to go back to, oh, here's their code. I guess we could just try that. Well, we don't have a switch, so let's go back to the other tutorial. Let's just continue to follow it and just not use, we're gonna not use what the tutorial tells me to use for the whatever it is, programmer. Oh my god, my Windows management is failing me. All right, we don't need any of this stuff. Close that. Close that. Close this. All right, let's go back over here and do... This is our tutorial. Okay, here we are. All right, so we hook this thing up. They're going to want us to use their programming interface. I don't want to use it. They want to use Mu. See, they're talking about GPIO 0, which I don't need. So I guess... While true, LED on sleep, LED off sleep. Yeah, okay, so they're using a while true loop. I guess we could try that out. And then the program is going to look like that other program. It's going to look like the one that we got. So Python 3, GPIO. Are we going to use GPIO 0? That was the one everybody said we should use, right? Physical computing, blah, 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 GPIO 0. Yeah, it's the same program. So I guess we're just going to try this whole program in Python. Python is a spacing-based programming language, so it's important that I enable the visualization of spaces on here, and that when I hit tab, it adds either, what is it, 2 spaces or uses a tab? I forget which one. I remember that part about it, but we don't need semicolons at the ends of lines like we have in here. So file new, and I'm going to take their code, and they're going to have it spaced already using spaces. And I'm just going to save that as... I hate Python syntax. I enjoy my semicolons and me being in control of how I do the spacing of everything, but when you get into Python and you get used to it, it flows really nicely. Just need to indent any number of spaces. Yeah, I've got to learn this stuff a little bit more, and I'm still kind of fuzzy on everything. LED 17, because we're using GPIO 17. We've imported GPIO 0, and we've imported the, I guess, LED, so we can say LED.on. That's a little weird, but I guess we're defining pin 17 as our LED. I hate syntax-based white space. Everybody seems to. I don't mind it so much. I only use it for minor stuff when I need to spend the least amount of time on. Sorry, I misread that. I only use it for minor stuff which I need to spend the least amount of time on. Python can do a lot of stuff, and it flows together really nicely when you get into looping with it. As a microcontroller guru, I found it rather pleasant to get to know and to program with. I have subsequently forgotten literally everything that I know. I've written a very comprehensive program that was in control of a board that would burn names onto itself. In the future, I'm not sure whether or not Burn the Subs will use Python. I think it probably will for its base level determining of where to put names. I would like to make that a little smarter maybe and have it do some weirder stuff. In the future, I would like to be interfacing with that stuff via robot arm. I would like to have it do a robot arm that will trace a certain distance so that it can do the burning with one arm and then have different camera effects on another one. That's going to involve something like Robot OS or any number of far more complicated robot controlling software suites that I don't know anything about. So in terms of us sitting in front of a bunch of Python and dinkily programming away some kind of an M code creator, that may be blowing away with the winds of time. I don't know. I code in PHP for 6 years. I can't even remember how to import a file anymore. Yeah. I would use ChatGPT to program my Python. What? What are you guys doing in Python that requires you to have a higher level interpret? Listen, I'm a microcontroller dude. I know about loops, very simple stuff. Asking ChatGPT to make your simple loops, like, I can understand if you're like, I need the framework for a program that does X, and it'll give you a framework. It saves time. Look, man, like learning to do this thing again, once I spool up on Python, I'm just going to be able to throw the code out and have it do stuff. What's up, Siflet8? Thank you for the 55 months. I really appreciate that. You made the idea light up red to symbolize that someone has subbed to my channel. Man, the whole human memory is shit. Well, look, I know the genie's out of the bottle in terms of like AI and coding and stuff, but you need to kind of know what you're doing to use the AI tools. Maybe in other applications, but in something like this, where I want a light program to go through all the functions that I need, I'm not going to be using AI for this. It's just, I don't know. All right, I'm save this as, and we're going to call it .py. It's not a copy as, cancel. I'm just going to do a folder on the desktop because I can't be bothered to do anything more complicated than that. So folder on the desktop, and I'm going to call that. Actually, wait, no, we should go into the stream folder on the desktop. The permissions are all messed up from when I upgraded the file server, so I can't get into my project files, which is really annoying. I started kind of a refugee camp over here called Stream Project. So I'm going to put a new folder in there and do 1, 2, 3. What was it? rpy testing. And then I'm just going to call this 123.py. So .py, I'm adding that to the extension, and so now it's going to be a different file extension. This thing suddenly knows the syntax clues and gives me a little bit the minimal highlighting that I like. I use ChatGPT more than Stack Overflow. How smooth is your brain at this point? So this is a very simple program. LED on, sleep for 1. I'm going to guess that's 1 second in Python. LED.off sleep, and we define our LED as pin 17, a GPIO pin 17. We use GPIO 0, and we use time for the sleep function. Sleep function, not a great idea, especially in microcontrollers. Sleep function's probably fine in Python on a Raspberry Pi because it's got a task manager that'll tell it to go do other stuff. On a microcontroller, when you use that sleep function, it stops. The one thread that you have stops. Raspberry Pi, plethora of different threads. We use 3, I believe, in Burn the Subs code because one of them has to be dedicated to staying on the Twitch API. Another one has to be ready to, I think, interpret G-code or something like that. No, send G-code to the other machine. And then the third one is for processing names that come in from the API. 3 threads. We do not need 3 threads in the new code. The new code probably only needs 1. So does all the GPIO pins declared as GPIO pin number? I believe that's what GPIO 0 is doing for us. Let's find out. So we take that code and I can load it into a folder on the Raspberry Pi. So that's more WinSCP jockeying. Where's my home directory here? What am I doing? Home. Okay, there. And I'm just going to put it on the home directory. I'm going to put a folder in there. So new directory. This is how I deal with files and stuff. Some people love the command line for that. I used to use Macintoshes when I was a little kid. So this is just what I'm used to. So this folder is going to be called TestPy. And in it, I am going to drag and drop because that does the maximal amount of frustrating my viewers. The maximal amount of frustrating viewers. And I'm going to get it from, that's not the folder, stream, the local stream folder. And then I've got, well, oh, it's a number, yeah, first thing. 123.py. So just poop that in there. And then I can go into WinSCP. And actually in the future, what I can do is I can open the file through WinSCP. And it'll open up in Notepad++. You just double click it from this folder. Where's my console? Boop. CD ... Oh. What is it? Wait a minute. CD is Windows. What was it? What was it again? On Arduino sketches, I have a habit of watching the millis counter to time stuff instead of delay. No, that's what you should do. You're not supposed to, your thread's supposed to be able to, yeah. I use Rust for my ESP. Use Rust! Jeez. Spent days setting up the project. Jeez. Oh, CD's going to the home directory. I'm trying to remember my syntaxes for Linux. I have a mouse pad that has all the syntaxes on them. Oh yeah, know the dir of the word nerd rhyme. There we go. Tab complete is an important one. The that's not Dell, is it? Is that Dell the funk? Yeah, I think so. The nerd rhyme? No, that's a different one. That was an mp3.com rap. If you know the dir of the nerd rhyme or something something. Dir. Dir is 123 pi. Python 3 123.py. And then we get ready for alchemy. Oh, it's thinking. Wait, did my mouse change? Oh yeah, my mouse changed. Enter. Oh my God. Amazing. So now listen here. Listen carefully. This stuff was baby work. this was super stupid simple baby work. I have millions of years of experience doing this baby work while streaming. Never turn your nose up at the baby work, because what we've done here right now is monumental. Getting the entire process flow from installing drivers, installing programs, installing IDEs, writing code in the IDE, outputting the code from the IDE, loading it up into your physical computing device, having the physical computing device run the code, having the hardware down on the table, hooked up properly, not blowing up your entire setup. That is huge. And the fact that I have as much experience as I do, I made that look trivial. It's not trivial. If you're having troubles with this, do not think that you are a burden asking for help. This is the hardest part of most projects right here. We have, just because I have all this experience, I have the proper power supply, I have the proper Raspberry Pi set up properly, I have the right memory card in there, I know to be careful about the pinout, I know how to hook up the LED properly, I've got it set up with a resistor that's an appropriate value that's not going to tank all of the current of the Raspberry Pi. I know to set it up as a static IP on my router. I know to write the IP address on the thing just in case I dumbly forget what it is. I have heat sinks on the Raspberry Pi. I've got the latest version of WinSCP. I know what to press in order to get all of the information of this guy in there. I've used the Raspberry Pi SD card loader. I know when it doesn't recognize the SD card. I know to not listen to Windows and let Windows format the device. And then I also, they built in the headless stuff, they built into that program, which really, really helps out a lot. Because before we would have to put a folder on the root directory of the SD card that would give it the information that would allow it to get up on the right time signature and all that stuff. So the fact that I have a million years of experience means that I know all of those little shortfalls. I was able to stumble my way through this. A beginner, you're going to run into every single problem 5 times, right? It's going to be a frustrating process, but the point is, if you can keep the blinders on and focus yourself on the task at hand and get through one problem at a time, and especially with Linux, get your information from a singular source, not multiples. That's been the biggest shortfall of my career in programming things in Linux, is that there's 10,000 ways to skin a cat, but you shouldn't have asked that question because it's already been answered. But it's not specifically the question that you're looking for. So that's my experience with all this stuff. I hope this has been kind of an illuminating. Get it, illuminating? Get over here. Get over here. Get over here. Look at this. Focus. Come on, look at this. It's illuminating. I hope this has been an illuminating tutorial and that you guys can, some of the users here that may have a little bit less experience in this stuff can know that you start with Hello World. Your idea might be grandiose. You may want to be building an entire robot that's going to take over the world using AI, and you're going to program it in Rust or whatever. Who fuck cares? The first step is to Hello World, so that you know that your amazing idea can get onto the actual device cleanly. I can sit here and write code for 9 hours. It's just not going to matter if I can't load it up into the Raspberry Pi. So in the future, what I can do is I can actually double click on the, here, let's stop running the code. Keyboard interrupt, I hit Control-C. So now our Pi is once again idling. I can go into Notepad++, and I don't think I need to set up anything special. I think I can close this. And if I want, I can open, hold on. I can go to WinSCP and double click on this, and it opens it in Notepad++. And now what I can do is make it do a 0.5 second and 1 second delay. LED on, sleep 1, LED off, sleep a half, and then turn the LED back on for 1, and then off, and then it's gonna sleep for, I'll just randomly put weird stuff in here. it's going to be this weird like pattern. And then what do I do from here? I think I can just save. And maybe WinSCP. I forget how to do this. Oh, that's completed. Yeah, okay. So looking for the update down here means that it is it saw that I saved it and it uploaded it to the Pi. And so now all I need to do is go back into my console, hit up, and go. And so if I'm doing little code revisions, that'll help me do that. So now you can see blink, 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 blink. It's kind of a weird pattern now, just because I put a couple little half-second delays in those subsequent lines. So that's how we were going to iterate through code. All I have to do is hit Control-S, and WinSCP will automatically save it to there. Every now and then, though, it'll be prudent for me to take the file and back it up into that directory. I don't know if it backs it up into the directory. When's the last save time for this thing? 409, it is 420. Yeah, so it did not save to here as well. So if I wanted to save that latest piece of code, I need to bring it over here. And I use drag and drop because that maximally frustrates my viewers. You guys will find that when I'm programming stuff, sometimes I will use, especially with Arduinos, I will use the number 1 and the number 0 interchangeably with the word high and low and true and false. And sometimes I'll mix it up in the middle of something. So we check to see if a variable is true. We set it to 0 earlier. That's the kind of thing that I sometimes will do. And my dry sense of humor means that some people have gotten actually mad at me for it. All right, let's cancel this. We're done. Tutorial over. We could bask in the glory of having done this properly. I got to that fairly quickly. We didn't run into any problems. It's about a 4-hour stream. So I guess I'm going to leave it at that. Bother streams tend to be kind of short for streamer streams. I have a lovely corgi that I need to take care of. She needs to go touch grass. It is a beautiful, cool day out. So I too am blinded by the LED light. I am too blinded by the LED light to be frustrated. No, that was largely successful. I expected there to be a couple little like pratfalls in there. Maybe I could have done something wrong to kind of gum up the works and be able to actually have a teaching moment with you guys. It's very hard though. When I get into Python and especially microcontroller stuff and the more complex stuff, the Chat IDE, if you ever consider getting into streaming programming, Chat IDE is a very powerful thing. It's the, I forget what the name of that is, where if you say something wrong, people correct you on the internet. It's a very powerful force. And so that happens when I'm programming and people say, line 75, you did something wrong. Every now and then, I will try to fail. And I've been bad at that lately, trying to fail, just so that we can have a teachable moment about the types of troubleshooting that you have to go through to get stuff like this running. You have to be, you have to really ferret out the problems, and some languages are not that descriptive of the errors, and so you kind of get a sense of what sort of error pertains to what kind of troubleshooting. But anyway, that went very smoothly. Yeah, everybody assumes that I'm a buffoon, but I actually, listen, I do a lot of this stuff purposely so that we actually can show it on camera, because YouTubers hate to fail, and that really hits me it rubs me the wrong way, you know? Anyway, we have more Python in the future. I would like to get my Raspberry Pi to be able to control lots and lots of LEDs, starting with one of these big screens and moving on to LED strips and possibly Project M. I don't know what Project M entails. It seems like it's a pretty big thing, so we might have a little bit of trouble with it. Hopefully we can, run through it with a little bit of Python and get it running on this device. I might not be able to do that. I don't know. We'll have to see. But the future is bright, especially because I got that LED flashing. Here is the end card. Oh yeah, we did the end card ahead of time, so I can just do it right now. Nice. Nice. Here's the end card. That's got all my social media information, except that my Blue Sky got freaking hacked. I don't know what to do about that. My Reddit got hacked, and then a year later, my Reddit is a 15-year-old account. It got hacked, and then a year later, after I submitted the ticket, they finally got back to me with a password change. Wait. Was that yellow? That looks red. Maybe that was yellow and it was just in my peripheral vision. Or maybe I was seeing red because you activated the idea light. I don't think that does anything. Wait, idea. No, that's definitely yellow, but it looked red. Why did it? That must have been me. That must have just been me. That must have been me looking in a weird direction. Yeah, anyway, good stuff to come. We're going to work on a bunch of cool stuff, and we'll get really into it and make all this stuff work. I don't know what's happening with Blue Sky, but the Discord link is a valid one, and that's really where all of us spend all of our time, is on Discord. Lots of people asking questions. There's a modicum of activity on the Discord. It gets fairly quiet at times, but we have got enough people now that there's several conversations going on at once. Great. I have two-factor on now, and I had two-factor on for Blue Sky, I believe. I'm pretty sure I did. So they just hacked it anyway. Yeah. Happened on me recently with one of my emails. Microsoft detected some connection from the US. So I live in France. I wish you could blacklist areas of connection. You know, like, fine, if you get a VPN and you don't remember to whitelist a certain area, like, my credit card is not really going to be used anywhere but here and maybe some parts of China, and, like, you know, usually through a payment processor to other places. So if there's activity in a weird spot, just instantly flag that. Yeah, I wish I had that on my account. It's like even my VPN when I use it is somewhere. It's like in New York. So it's like, come on, man, just shut off that activity. Some web, like Amazon does that, and I think Google to a certain degree. They'll tell you there's a login from a certain location. You can be like, whoa, and shut everything down. But Blue Sky did not have that functionality at the time that my account got hacked, so it's gone. It's not gone. Maybe I'll get it back. I hope so. But it sucks because I came over to Blue Sky when there was a big exodus of the project people, and I was able to get on one of those lists of project people to sign up for early, and I was able to get connections to all these other project people at the same time. But now I don't. Now I don't. That whole thing just got shut down. Man. Anyway, Discord is where to find me. I will catch you guys around, and see y'all next time. I'm back tomorrow. We're going to look probably into LED stuff further. I would like to get more stuff done on this. We were slow today. We're going to be slow tomorrow, but we're going to try to take a look at some projects and see what we can do with lighting up LEDs. So I will catch you guys then. Until then, be prolific, touch grass.